Hai că suntem în direct. Asta așa să opresc muzica e pe loop. Bună seara tuturor, salutare și bine v-am regăsit la un nou episod al GameDev Academy, GameDev Livecast, îmi cer scuze, făcut, bineînțeles, de GameDev Academy, dacă tot am zis, să o duc până la capăt. Salut, Cătălin, bine te-am regăsit.
Salut. Aștept cu nerăbdare să schimbăm pe English.
Schimbăm pe English dacă reușim să dăm de invitatul nostru de astăzi.
Dacă nu comentăm știri. E ok.
Care ar fi trebuit să ni se alăture deja, dar nu ne-a mai răspuns astăzi la mesaje și nu știm dacă o să avem invitat astăzi. Dacă nu, o să avem un invitat special, facem o emisiune cu Robert Șerban în caz de urgență.
V-am promis un invitat surpriză mai mare decât nimeni nu există.
Exact, da. Asta ar putea fi un titlu bun, Robert, să-l notez pe ăsta, invitat nimeni la GameDev Livecast. Bun, Robert e în culise, pregătit cu știrile pe care o să le dezbatem astăzi. O să-l invităm în câteva secunde alături de noi, iar între timp încercăm să vedem dacă Pavel, invitatul de astăzi, primul nostru invitat din afara țării, reușește să participe sau vom face emisiunea fără el. Bun. Așa este. Mulțumim, Laurențiu comentează că este mult albastru. Nu ne-am vorbit, dar așa este. Salutăm și pe Chain Wolf, salutăm și pe Eduard, salutăm și pe Laurențiu, salutăm pe toată lumea. Îl așteptăm pe Robert în câteva secunde alături de noi.
Salut!
Salut, Robert! Ce faci? Bine te-am găsit!
Bine v-am găsit! Chiar adineori am verificat să văd dacă a primit link-ul corect și da, invitatul are link-ul corect, deci acum doar ne punem speranțele la el.
Da, sper să nu fie o problemă de fus orar și cumva...
explica cineva la ce oră?
Eu personal am scris ora României și parcă am scris Eastern European Time, dar poate nu s-a gândit, o oră, 2 plus...
Nici o problemă. Și așa...
de mult la Despre când erau developeri din afară.
Ca să fim siguri, ne lungim cu știrile o oră și...
Hai să vedem dacă reușim să ducem știrile o oră și... Bun, ne organizăm dimers, hai să trecem prin știri. Dacă nu, probabil o să stăm noi 3 la povești pe același subiect pe care le aveam și cu invitatul de astăzi. În acest episod intenționam să discutăm cu Pavel The Business of Video Games in 2024, dar dacă Pavel nu o să ni se alăture, cred că noi 3 putem să discutăm un pic despre acest subiect, măcar 5-7 minute și după aia închidem emisiunea. Bun, acestea fiind zise, Robert, te rog, ai preluat conducerea, poți să faci share screen și să împărtășești știrile cu noi.
Începem în forță, pentru că suntem români. Și aparent, pentru că nu exista o comunitate de Reddit, cu apropo că a mai fost creată acum câțiva ani, doar că pe Reddit, dacă nu e activă comunitatea timp de 90 sau 30 de zile, moderatorul sine o închide. Dar pentru că multă lume a cerut în ultima vreme, vreau și eu pe Reddit să folosesc, eu folosesc Reddit, de ce nu există în România Reddit, de ce nu se face RGD o reclamă pe Reddit, am zis, hai să învățăm mai bine Reddit și am creat această mică comunitate care se numește GameDev, adică ceva generic, dar pe care lumea poate să folosească să facă reclamă la joc, să vorbească despre ce vrea și să facă scrie.
Avem voie să ne facem self-promotion? Nu e de la cu auto-ban dacă cumva pui un link la
Dacă
jocul
vă
tău?
luați bani, o să fie din vina mea pentru că n-am setat cum trebuie boții. Sau că e vreo bifă pe acolo cu... Vedeți că a spamat prea des ăsta. Deci, da, se rezolvă. Dacă îmi ziceți că, bă, vedeți că nu apare postul, e vina mea. Dar surprinzător nu mă așteptam, nu mi-a prins chestia asta, că am deschis-o, cred că luni? Nu, că azi e miercuri. Săptămâna trecută, pe joi, vineri și deja au intrat, cred că 30 ceva de persoane plus ce care intră și pentru că sunt moderator, pot să dau click și să văd care e activitatea și lumea cumva apare și se uită peste. Acum dacă sunt 32 de persoane care se uită de vreo 10 de ori.
Sunt atât de surprinși oamenii, se uită în fiecare zi, bă, chiar e real?
Ia, refresh.
Asta e cool, că chiar lumea se uită și e o chestie care e acolo, care puteți să o aplicați, dacă vreți.
Da.
Super tare, hai.
Robert, te felicit, în același timp te și urăsc, pentru că sunt hater Reddit, pentru că nu am voie să intru cu VPN-ul, decât dacă am cont, dar apreciez efortul, motiv pentru care o să-mi fac cont de Reddit. Ca să susțin această inițiativă, mi se pare foarte tare și invităm pe toată lumea să fie activă pe acel grup.
O să mai promovez bonus, dacă vrea cineva să facă un cont românesc de GameDev de Instagram. A fost foarte cerut chestia asta, doar pentru că eu nu fac poze și nu știu ce aș putea pune decât poze din jocuri pe Instagram. Nu știu ce ar merge acolo. Aia a fost a doua chestie cea mai cerută, dar nu mă pricep. Dar poate cineva avea care iubește Instagram-ul și vrea să dea share la Romania 24/7.
Da, nu eu.
Convingi pe Andrei să-și decide să facă și cont de Instagram după aia.
Exact, da, nu, hai să nu exagerăm.
Știi ceva? Eu cont de TikTok, aici trag linie, eu de ăla nu fac. Poți să faci 5 canale românești de TikTok.
Fac un forum. Surprinzător am suferit de foarte multe chestii românești, așa că sper că v-ați încălzit un pic cu Reddit-ul. Trecem mai departe la un concurs cu premii organizat de Republic of Gamers prin Inspectoratul Școlar al Municipiului București. Practic, elevii de clasa de liceu între a 9 și a 12-a, nu știu de ce a 13-a nu, pot să participe la un game jam de o durată mai lungă, chiar aici e calendarul, în care pot să facă jocuri. Mi se pare că tematica este destul de... E Republic of Gamers, mi se pare că e tematica pusă, sau ROG, sau da, universul Republic of Gamers. Și vor avea prezentări, vor avea o parte în care îi scripează și pe aia vor avea 2 săptămâni în care trebuie să facă jocurile și pe 12 decembrie, adică abia peste 2 luni, vom afla cine a câștigat și cine sunt jurații și mai multe chestii. Chiar e foarte drăguț că o să fie pe ICU și o să fie publice jocurile. Deci le putem încerca la final. Aia e partea cea mai bună. Păreri?
Foarte frumos. Rușine să le fie celor de la Asus că s-au limitat doar la București. Voia și restul țării să participe.
Aici s-a dezvoltat la inspectoratul școlar. Nu știu, de alea am avut pe toată țara, dar inspectorul școlar poți să le faci pe București. Acum...
Bănuiesc că, nu fiecare cu inspectoratul lui, ca să zic așa.
Aș menționa că poate din cauza că au laptopuri, ca premii și vouchere și bani și chestii, poate au vrut să-și facă treaba mai ușoară. Și am înțeles că am făcut cursul în trecut, dar s-ar putea ca asta să fie la next level, mai public, mai ok și poate ușor anul să fie național. Oricum e foarte, foarte șmecher și aș vrea și un laptop de ăla, dar nu sunt la liceu.
Da, Robert, nu e niciodată târziu, așa că... Da, cu cât mai multe inițiative, cu atât mai bine și, bineînțeles, de preferat cât mai accesibile, cu atât mai bine. În București sunt atât de multe încât susțin ce a zis Cătălin, mi-aș dori să văd și restul țării că are oportunitatea, ca să nu o dau așa, de a participa la astfel de evenimente sau de competiții.
Am citit și din comentarii legate de București Game Week. Vreau să mai menționez o știre adițională care nu am notat-o pentru așa, am uitat să menționez, că dacă a fost la București Game Week, ceea ce nu cred că sunteți prea bătrâni, S-au dat treasure prin aplicația lor, printre care s-au dat și jocuri românești, printre care și mai multe studiouri precum Cătălin, chiar și Bere Breakfast și toate cele au dat chei și mi s-a părut cea mai tare chestie pe care am făcut-o fără să se ducă un developer să-și facă stand, fără să-și bată capul, doar am trimis eu mail, am confundat data de la 1 octombrie cu 11 octombrie și m-am grăbit mai rapid ca să-și facă aplicația, dar a fost foarte tare că au avut foarte mulți developeri care au răspuns. Cred că mai mult de jumătate mi-au răspuns la mail și au zis, bă, uite, ia cheile. E doar așa ca fun fact.
Da.
Păcat totuși că nu a ajuns nimeni și cu jocuri românești pe acolo să expună. Poate pe viitor.
O să vorbim mai mult despre ce trebuie să faci în România ca să vizi un joc sau dacă chiar merită. Dar hai să trecem la următoarea știre, ca să ajungem și la ea. Că tot e sezonul de stat acasă, are loc GameDev Plus, care este un GameDev internațional, care începe de la, cred că pot să arăt și din partea de la Drăguță, de Oblu, de la GameDev care e pe regiune, adică poate să participi în România, America, țările respective state. După aia să ai incubație, semifinale, accelerație și finală, printre care o să ai mentorat și la final sunt bani. De obicei erau bani, în zilele trecute nu am găsit fix care e premiul pentru anul ăsta. Mă scuzați. Ce aș menționa este că, scurt și la obiect, TCDA se ocupă de partea de România, de partea de online, deci dacă intrați pe registrul meu, o să intrați pe platforma de la GameDev Plus și trebuie să vă completați datele. Dacă aveți probleme, neînțelegeri, orice fel de situație care nu vă merge, puteți să mă contactați chiar pe mine direct, că eu mă ocup de asta și voi vorbi mai departe cu organizatorii și voi zice, bă, am înțeles asta și cum se face. Are loc de pe 18 până pe 20 octombrie, este un GameDev care are loc de la ora României, ora 6 până la 23:59 duminica pe 20.
Tu, Roberta, cumva ai aflat de el târziu sau de ce nu s-a
Au avut o
discutat
problemă
despre
cu
el?
site-ul lor de înscrieri. Eu am aflat de el chiar cu o lună și pregătisem ce era pentru site, aveam totul pregătit, dar probabil dacă dădeai register now, nu mergea și nu i s-a părut să dăm drumul la marketing, hei, uite, aveți GameDev-ul. Ca după aia să aflu acum o săptămână când am intrat peste ei că, bă, da, cât mai durează să faceți mentenanța asta, că au făcut mentenanță și au rezolvat-o, dar au schimbat și linkul. Au anunțat pe undeva pe un WhatsApp pe acolo, dar când am întrebat eu chestia asta, mi-au sărit că ei făcut un grup de WhatsApp, au reacționat alți developeri din alte țări și erau like, a, da? Majoritatea nu prea știa asta, dar... Da, a fost un fel de, aș zice, vină de ambele părți, că puteam să întreb și eu în fiecare zi, bă, da, cât mai durează. Și cred că puteam să anunțăm și mai devreme, doar că n-am fost sigur.
Da. Nu, eram doar
bună e
curios
că nu e prea târziu, încă se mai poate.
Și partea super e că dacă începeți GameDev-ul, puteți să aduceți prieteni pe parcurs. N-au limit pe, cum se numește, numărul de echipă, vârstă și dacă intră persoane în echipă pe parcurs la asta. Bineînțeles, dacă e 23:59 și ați trimis jocul, da, puteți să mai adăugați pe partea de incubare, dar e depinde de managementul vostru. În principal, singura chestiile care le pasă e de copyright. Dacă băgați chestii gen muzică sau AI stuffs, trebuie să fiți atenți la chestia asta, pentru că de obicei eu nu prea e copyrighted și trebuie să aveți grijă ce asset-uri băgați, dacă sunt pe la fel să fie copyright și toate cele. Dar sunt foarte liberi, e foarte chill GameDev-ul. Și cu asta o să trec la alt GameDev. Am greșit asta. Care este un GameDev mai mic, dar local și un pic mai diferit. Este un GameDev făcut de o comunitate din România, apărut recent pe Discord, se numește GameDev România. Eu aș zice
nici legătură cu GameDev al nostru, GameDev Academy.
Aș zice că e generația Z sau X sau Y de developeri care cred că nu au căutat foarte bine pe internet și după câteva secunde au realizat că pot să-și facă serverul lor și am zis, bă, ok. Eu le-am zis între timp și vezi că există asta, dar au zis că da, noi am format grupulețul nostru și am zis ok. Și între timp Și între timp eu o să fac acest game jam care nu are nicio temă, durează 2 săptămâni dacă știu să număr perfect și la fel e foarte liber și doar trebuie să fii român, nu contează că ești din Africa, Asia, atât de cât ai naționalitate sau ești român, poți să participi. Asta e tot. Verișor. Și surprinzător s-au pus câțiva oameni.
E ok că mai fac și cei tineri în comunitatea lor, că noi ăștia bătrânii poate nu suntem cei mai primitori câteodată.
Așa e. Foarte bine, să fac...
Ce mă se că sunt totuși, în luna asta sunt 3 game jam-uri care încep, practic sunt like free for all, întrebare, ăsta cu
jam-uri.
A început școala și n-a nimeni nimic de făcut la școală și ce să facă, fac și game jam-uri. E foarte bine că se fac, lasă, să fie cât mai multe. Game jam-urile din punct de vedere cel mai cool, mișto lucru pe care poți să-l faci ca pasionat de gaming.
Un fun fact pe care pot să-l mai iau e că anul trecut, bănuiesc că lumea știe proaspete de Global Game Jam, un game jam destul de recunoscut care are loc în fiecare an. În România chiar s-a întâmplat, câteva persoane au decis să-și facă în Brașov, un alt eveniment din Cluj, care mi se pare că vine și la Dev Nights, și a avut și loc și în București fizic. Deci anul ăsta chiar au mișcat foarte bine pe game jam-uri, adică nu, RGDA nu s-a implicat poate așa de mult sau pe cât de mult, doar practic susținut prin reclamă și dat mai departe că nu cred că avea sens să facem 2 București sau 3 sau 4, că deja sunt prea multe, dar e interesant cum se extinde atât online cât și fizic și în diferite orășele, unele poate mai cunoscute, altele poate nu atât de populare. Și acestea fiind spuse, hai să trecem la știrea cea mai piperantă din seara asta pe subiectul de românisme, a zice. Și o să las poza asta.
Măgurele!
O să vă dau un pic de context înainte de a vă arăta mai multe despre joc. Este vorba despre un joc românesc la care developerul a făcut reclamă mai mult la români și a funcționat. Reclamă la români. O să ne uităm peste pagina de Steam și peste contul de TikTok ca să vă dați cu părerea la mai multe. Principal ce aș putea să mai zic este că e developerul, asta mi se pare că m-a întrebat și Andrei înainte, a mai făcut câteva jocuri, a făcut Măgurele Mystery 2021, a mai făcut un joc cu Horia Baci, după aia a încercat să devină mai în 3D internațional, a văzut că nu merge și a revenit la Măgurele Mystery, pe care l-a scos chiar acum 5 zile, care are doar 3 review-uri până acum și e la...
Dai tu mute la sunet, la clip. Da, hai băieți, săriți să nu ne facem de râs cu 3 review-uri, intrați acolo și rezolvați. Cât costă jocul? 4 euro?
12 euro, deci 20 de lei?
Da, o șaurmică acum, super ofertă. Mystery Măgurele. Ce m-a amuzat teribil e că în ziua în care s-a lansat, jocul așa a apărut pe diferite site-uri de torenți și
era foarte așteptat, probabil.
Era exact un hype imens acolo și chiar erau persoane care comentau amuzant, savuroase comentariile. Dar ca orice proiect românesc, sper să le meargă, sper să fie cât mai de succes jocul, să scoată cât mai multe. Faptul că are 5 jocuri lansate mi se pare super tare. Așa că, ținem pumnii, dar mai aveai tu ceva.
Asta eram curios, care e partea picantă.
Partea picantă e că s-au jucat youtuberii mari, nu știu, Piti, că nu-i cunosc, și Mapamo și toate cele, dar era youtuberul ăsta, care se numește Imogen, pe care foarte multă lume nu-l știe, dar este un tip care are, de obicei face vreo 70.000, 80.000 de vizualizări pe live. Și cred că a dat el timestamp-ul prost, dar ideea că videoclipul ăsta la un moment dat se joacă el CS și se joacă și Măgurele Mystery. Chiar aici. Chiar, și surprinzător a fost locul 15 în trending la gaming, eu bănuiesc că e pe România categoric, ca să nu vă mai întrebați dacă e de afară.
No.
Și era like, wow! Și după aia m-am uitat pe contul de TikTok de la developer Și am găsit acest minunat videoclip, care cred că aș vrea să-l dau un pic cu audio, dar nu mai știu pe unde audio de aici. Aha.
Misterii inferentari. Da, recunosc că n-am avut... am copilărit pe acolo, n-a fost chiar de mult misterii, era tot în față.
Care pot să zic doar că chestia asta a strâns 23.000 de like-uri, 220 de comentarii și nu mai știu ce sunt astea, bookmark-uri, cred că la
5.000 de wishlist-uri,
da, exact,
dar are un sfert de milion de vizualizări.
Da.
O fi audiența modernă, mă, din România, e audiența modernă.
Adică, pe partea de marketing în România, cred că a făcut cel mai bun marketing care l-a făcut vreun joc românesc până acum vreodată. Nu o să mai fie că e Asca, fie că e Move or Die, Dorkix, nu contează. Jocul ăsta a ajuns la mai mulți români decât au ajuns toate până acum.
Mi se pare super tare că și-a găsit metoda lui sau a lor, nu știu exact dacă e un singur om sau sunt mai mulți. Bravo lor că și-au găsit metoda lor de promovare.
Problema e că nu se convertește în sale-uri și aici o fi calitate, nu știu dacă o fi calitate jocului, dar pentru $3 sau $4 s-ar putea să nu rămână să nu cumpere jocul.
Sau audiența de pe TikTok s-a amuzat de combinația de muzică și visual, nu neapărat că erau curioși să se joace jocuri. Cine știe? Important e că l-au văzut mulți oameni la urmă.
Da.
Dar mie mi-a plăcut aia era un titlu acolo la announcement-urile lui de pe Steam. Cel mai tare YouTuber de pe Mapamond, aia este el știri românești de alea de cancan.
Exact, da. Fiecare face cum poate. Îmi imaginez că bugetul lui de marketing a fost mai mult decât zero. Mai puțin decât
da, a fost bine cheltuit bugetul ăla de marketing.
Cu toate cele are achievement-uri și are și parcă se mai cea audio în română. Deci e fix. Doar că e surprinzător cea mai ciudată chestie. N-a localizat jocul în română. Poate de asta l-a cumpărat. M-a zis, eu dacă nu pot să îmi zic că
nu știu cât dialog are. Eu cred că singura chestie care e audio în joc e muzica. Și atunci filmanele mai greu cu manele în altă limbă.
Missed opportunity, că n-are soundtrack-ul de cumpărat.
Cum ar fi fost? Cum ar fi fost? Digital Edition, powered by Tâncă Uragan. Da. Râdem, glumim, dar na. Dacă funcționează. Ce marketing e marketing, promo e promo. Că nu se convertește, sunt 100.000 de factori pentru care poate nu s-a convertit. Să nu uităm că totuși e un gen de joc care nu este un super mainstream. 2. Vizual, nu pot să zic că jocul chiar te atrage așa cu lucruri deosebite. Iar mai departe de atât, nu știu că n-am apucat să joc, dar dacă sunt doritori, dacă poate vreți doar să susțineți efortul celor de la Street Art Studio, de ce nu? Puteți să cumpărați jocul și să...
Aș veni eu cu o recomandare mai bold. Faceți Măgurele Mystery 3, dar îl faceți pe mobile și îl faceți foarte casual și dacă te prinde monstru să te uiți la un videoclip cu Google Ads. Poate mai ușor, că așa o să fie gratis. Românul poate îl ia că vede pe TikTok și are direct, uite că e pe Google Play.
Și
sau
pe
iOS.
Da.
Și am mai văzut, surprinzător, am mai văzut că tentația asta era un joc care încerca să fie un fel de GTA, dar nu-i lăsat încă un fel de GTA, dar pe mobile în România. Și la fel prindea, adică dacă faci cum trebuie, marketingul prinde. Cred că durează doar până când afli pe ce mai exact își petrec majoritatea românilor banii sau timpul. Pentru că s-ar putea ca la mobilă să fie mai accesibil, că îl ia la mișto, se uită, îi arată la prieten, îi dă o reclamă, zice, ok, uită-te, skip și ți-a bagat 0,0 cenți, dar sunt și ea niște bani.
Bun, Măgurele Mystery îl găsiți pe Steam. Și dacă comentați, dacă îl cumpărați, nu uitați să lăsați și un comentariu la joc, un review. Ceva, orice să ajutăm acolo Street Art Studio. Bun, și poate chiar o să vedem cine e în spate și avem și invitați. Pare interesant și faptul că a avut atât de mulți youtuberi care au jucat jocul. Pe drept numele e catchy, n-am ce să zic. De nume nu pot să zic că nu e catchy. Mai e și doi.
Eu aș fi curios să vorbesc.
Misterul din Măgurele.
Nu. Misterii Măgurele.
Peste poți să localizezi pagina română. Dacă i-aș fi intrat, nu e localizată că vedeam, dar nu e. Deci e păcat. Dar hai să trecem mai departe.
Aș fi curios să vorbesc cu un băiat de ăsta mai tinerel care are abordări de astea mai inovative despre cum văd ei piața de jocuri, cum văd marketing. Chiar cred că ar fi o discuție interesantă.
O să vă zic eu special și faptul că dacă vrei să-l prindeți pe creatorul de la asta, se numește Ștefan, ceea ce nu cred că o să vă ajute, dar e Ștefan MH pe Discord și este pe RG de Discord. L-am prins când făcea promovare la Măgurele Mystery și așa am aflat de el. Deci, dacă chiar vrei să vorbiți cu
developerul ăsta, l-am prins.
Am prins, Ștefan, aici erai. Da.
L-am prins când făcea reclamă și, surprinzător, chiar dacă are 3 review-uri, e printre puțini români care a zis: hei, am o continuare la jocul meu, uitați jocul meu. A pus pe promo, a pus pe RGDA, a trecut mai departe. Cred că am văzut anul ăsta doar un developer sau 2 care fac chestia asta. Bine, vorbesc de cei care n-au publisher și care n-au finanțare ultra mega mare. Deci, băgați-vă seama, dacă vreți. Acum să fiți drăguți. Nu... Dar chiar poate
de ce n-am fi? Adică, de ce n-am fi?
Hai să trecem mai departe.
Da.
Da, pentru cei care nu știu, care sunt mai gamer, a început Steam Next Fest. Steam Next Fest este un festival care ține 7 zile, în care developerii pot să-și pună demo-uri la jocuri. Practic, dacă vei intra pe pagina de Steam al unui joc, o să intru în modul de Windows ca să fie mai vizibil. O să apară banner-ul drăguț și o să apară demo-ul. Cea mai mare problemă la români de tura asta a fost că le apărea butonul de download demo la dreapta, cu albastru, și nu se mai vedea
mult mai puțin vizibil în dreapta acolo. Da.
Pentru că a schimbat Steam regulile, ceea ce e penibil, dar de ce sunt așa de puține locuri de muncă pentru juniori?
Și probabil o să atingem acest subiect un pic mai încolo, după ce terminăm cu știrile, așa că rămâi alături de noi.
Facem un free for all la question.
Și poate atingem și acest subiect, mai ales că invitatul nu ni se alăture, așa că, apropo, ia că e o idee bună, impromptu așa, dați-ne teme, hai să aruncați cu întrebări, dați-ne teme, să le dezbatem în episodul de astăzi, în care avem pe nimeni invitat și după ce terminăm cu știrile, începem să dezbatem o parte din subiectele propuse de voi. Până atunci continuăm cu știrile, mai avem încă vreo 240, rămâneți alături de noi și continuăm. Salutăm și pe toată lumea care s-a alăturat între timp și după ce terminăm cu știrile, o să dezbatem subiectele propuse de voi. Robert, hai să trecem prin ce mai avem.
O să dau 2 fun factor. Unul, că sunt foarte diverse jocurile de la Steam FX și surprinzător. Avem platformele care... Asta cred că o să fie cel mai frumos joc, dar nu cred că o să vină cel mai bine. Care arată superb.
Vreau să fac special shout-out la Silence AD, pentru că e de departe unul, sau poate cred că cel mai bun, culmea că am avut multe jocuri lansate anul ăsta, dar mie mi se pare una dintre cele mai bune pagini de Steam de anul ăsta la un joc. Totul e foarte ok, de la capsulă care e foarte fain gândită, trailerul care este super catchy și bine făcut, gif-uri pe Steam, informațiile bine structurate, materialele de marketing ok, deci felicitări Francis, chiar o treabă foarte faină.
Și aici o să vin cu o chestie, dacă mă vede Francis, te rog pune link către Discord în dreapta, pentru că lumea o să vadă că poți să intri pe Discord, dar nu o să știe să-l acceseze. Eu sunt hater. Bine ați venit. Dar e foarte șmecher jocul. Cu toate cele, o să trecem prin toate jocurile și o să vă întreb care credeți că au strâns cele mai multe wishlist-uri de când a început Steam să până azi. Au trecut deja 2-3 zile.
Deja ai date? De unde ai datele astea?
Hai să vedem. Primiți și noi ceva? Dacă răspundem corect, cu GameDev Livecast.
Da. Ok, deci o să trecem prin Welcome Back Commander, care e un RTS pixelat, Desolator District, care e un survival.
Stai. Ce a fost înainte?
Welcome Back
după aia răspunde Cătălin bine și ok. Welcome back. Welcome back on Commander, da, cunoscut, un clasic în viață, să zic aici. Bun, avem Desolated District, Real
care
Heroes.
e survival în Colon City, cel mai aglomerat, inspirat după cel mai aglomerat oraș din lume care a existat, sau bine, apartament, serie de apartamente.
Care este acest oraș? Scuzați-mă că am lipsit la ora aia la școală.
E o chestie... Cred că o să-ți explic mult și bine pe chestia asta. Practic era o adunătură făcută în Hong Kong de clădiri și practic era un fel de ceva în anii 70, dar era super cyberpunk și depresiv pentru că erau apartamente peste apartamente cu coridoare între ele, cum vezi doar în cyberpunk și Blade Runner. Bineînțeles nu era legal și bineînțeles au demolat chestia aia pentru că făcea oricine ce vrea pe acolo, că era literalmente un labirint. Dar era super șmecher ca concept și foarte periculos.
Da. Ok.
Trecem mai departe
ne întreabă, The Wall City of Kowloon, zice Real Hero. Și Radu a întrebat care a fost primul joc.
Silent City. De fapt cred că o să arunc postul direct în chat.
Cel mai bine, da.
Ca lumea
uite așa mai ieși niște apuri pe Reddit cu care...
Ia facem trafic pe Reddit acolo, dați și un like și un share, spuneți la familie. Bun, aveți lista, o puteți accesa. Mulțumim, Radu, de întrebare. Zi, Robert. Driveland.
Al patrulea joc e Driveland, care este un simulator cu, bineînțeles, focusat pe condus, pardon.
Pacific românesc? Sau...
Nu. E un developer românesc și mi se pare că e solo developer, dar e marketat pentru în afară. Bun. Următorul este arhicunoscutul Vlad Voievodul Dracula, care e un joc care, sincer, cred că Cătălin cam cinește la ochi, e retro, e fix...
Da, mie îmi place la nebunie. Am jucat, am mai avut niște jocuri, am avut unul tot cu Vlad, cred că era, nu? Tot cu Dracula, Vlad Țepeș sau nu știu cum se chema.
Da, care am făcut, chiar lucrează la mai multe.
Foarte simpatic, ăla chiar l-am jucat, chiar mi-a plăcut, foarte simpatic.
Doar că a pus prețul foarte mare.
Episodul 1, cred.
Da, și o să fac episodul
17 euro. Boi.
Da, cred că asta a fost de căzure, pentru că avea 6 review-uri, dacă l-ar fi vândut la un 9,99 măcar, cred că și-ar fi scos banii și...
Poate a vrut și să facă 100 de euro într-o zi și... Da. Dacă uit eu, poate vă readuceți voi aminte un pic mai încolo când intrăm noi în discuțiile noastre, discutăm un pic de prețuri pe Steam. Mi se pare interesant de...
Trecem la următorul joc și...
Acid? Ce am mai făcut cu el?
Aici e o chestie interesantă pentru că am vrut să dau de developer, dar și-a șters Twitter-ul între timp, așa că aș vrea să-l elimin din competiție pentru că n-am putut să aflu numerele de la el. Aș bănui că el ar fi numărul 1, dar o să-l elimin pentru că nu e fair, că nu am cum să aflu. Practic a scos un demo mai bun și a rupt toate conexiunile și el vrea să lanseze iarna asta. Acum bănuiesc că o să aștepte feedback-ul de la demo.
Ne putem uita la followeri doar așa ca să ne facem cât de cât o idee.
Bine, fără follower ca să nu știi.
E și de mult pe Steam, așa că s-ar putea să fim exact.
Nu. Fracture Mind e cu desăvârșire următorul joc printre cele mai populare. Dacă ai Urban Strife, dacă ai Dear Mage și... Nu știu dacă mai era ceva. Fracture Mind ar fi locul 3 sau 4 ca numărul de followeri. Cred că bate și Dear Mage ca wishlist-uri.
Oricum, e genul de joc care are instant appeal, adică
e fix și o chestia de body
și gata, arată fain. Nici n-ai nevoie să citești descrierea.
Și ultimul joc este Bullet Noir, care e făcut de Wolsen. Bonusul e că e făcut la Wolsen la București și că a lucrat chiar Cosmin Mârza pe partea de audio, deci e super românesc, a zice, de la audio până la cod, până la design, cât se poate. E un Hotline Miami spre Max Payne mai cute. Bun. Și acum întrebarea temei de azi este, dintre aceste 7 jocuri, dacă aș elimina Fracture Mind, pentru că toată lumea știe că Fracture Mind e cel mai popular, care credeți că este cel mai popular după Fracture Mind? Ca să fim corecți.
Eu o să răspund cu ce își dorește inima mea. Eu vreau să fie Silent City. Nu cred că o să fie, dar eu ăla mi-aș dori.
Okay. Eu nu cred că este Driving Sim-ul.
Cineva din chat vrea să mai voteze sau?
Că noi suntem total pe lângă. Hai, cineva mai priceput.
Am și o veste bună pentru voi doi, dar și pentru toată lumea. Invitatul nostru este în backstage, ne așteaptă. Pavel, I hope you can hear us. We are right now doing a new section, so we'll switch to English in about 10-15 minutes, and you can join us. And meanwhile, we'll keep in Romanian. Continuăm în română, stănăm cu știrile și trecem după aceea cu Pavel pe engleză.
Ca să fie rapid și la obiect pe știri, jocul cu curse e cel mai popular. Surprinzător e de ajuns în ziua de azi să mergi pe un gen simulator de curse sau survival versus genul și dacă faci un joc mai slab, o să te ajute mai mult la wishes-uri. Dacă o să-l ajungi la vânzări sau nu, aici probabil depinde de preț. Dar pentru mine a fost un fel de wow, adică chiar și mai erau niște jocuri care au fost menționate doar că au dat fel că nu au avut arta pregătită pentru demo-uri și sunt în Steam Next Fest, dar nu au demo disponibil. O să le menționez și acum, e Icarus 84 și era Mongol, parcă se numea jocul. Deci sper că mâine să le rezolvă și îmi datez lista. Și ca să terminăm cu știrile românești, pe partea tururilor românească, o să facem un shoutout pentru Chainwall Studio.
Shoutout moment by GameDev Livecast. Goes to Chainwall Studio! Nu știu dacă e în chat. Chainwall, dacă ești în chat, te salutăm.
Știu că era la un dat, că se uită de când în când. Ce e foarte tare e că are articole pe partea de GameDev. Poate nu sunt cele mai bune, poate nu sunt cele mai garantate, dar sunt ușor de digerat, aveți cu cine să vorbiți. Chainwolf este și pe RCDA, RCD, cred că și pe GameDev Livecast Discord. Și cu toate cele e și destul de constant pe partea de cum se numește, jocuri care apar în România. Deci, în principal, chiar am dat share și e la curent, pentru că vreau ca lumea să știe ce jocuri sunt în piață, ce urmează să apară, ce știu și eu, vreau să știe toată lumea. Și face o chestie foarte, foarte, foarte tare și e doar un student din Cluj care face asta în timpul liber, ceea ce e și mai șmecher.
Super fain și felicitări lui pentru...
Da, și mie mi se pare super tare. Tocmai de aia felicităm pe Chainwolf și nu felicităm pe oamenii care n-au abonament la RCDA. Cum se poate așa ceva? Glumesc că sunt marea majoritate nu au abonament la RCDA, dar e un topic pentru altă zi. Poate fi un subiect interesant de dezbătut.
Aici o să mă plâng eu că am vorbit atâta timp de Welcome Back Commander și de... Uite cum se vede, Desolate District, că au devenit source developerii și sunt like, bă, dar n-ai vorbit destul de jocul meu, hai să mă plâng de tine, știi? Ceea ce e bine că fac asta, dar să o facă și în afară, că dacă fac marketing doar în România, o să ajungeți ca măgurele misterii.
Da. Bun, shout-out-ul a mers către Chainwall Studio și chiar vă invit pe toți să urmăriți pe acolo site-ul și să susțineți inițiativa asta, că chiar este super ok. Hai să mergem mai departe, Robert.
O să trecem la cea mai interesantă chestie în afară. În sfârșit poți să portezi jocurile, dacă ești pe Godot, pe console. Ce înseamnă asta? Va trebui să plătești un preț. Din păcate, momentan nu este PS5, este partea de stare, dar poți pe Xbox și pe Switch. Cei de la W4 au fix pricing planurile și momentan cer pentru o consolă $800 pe an. Aș face o comparație care era foarte interesantă, că la Unity, dacă vrei chestia asta, este $2040 pe an. Păreri? Opinii?
Dar e 2040, cred că pentru toate consolele.
Pentru toate,
și aici, dacă vrei 3 console, e 2000.
Tot acolo ajungi. Da. Doar că de obicei, adică eu, de exemplu, aș fi vrut să portez jocuri foarte mult pe Switch. Dar de moment ce jocul meu a scos să avea $1000-$2000, mă gândesc de 2 ori, bă, dacă chiar are rost să mai portez pe Switch, să bag timpul să fac astea și...
Mi se pare, unu, e foarte mișto că cei care dezvoltă pe Godot pot să facă treaba asta. 2, mi se pare super fain, mai ales pentru indie dev, să poți să faci mai granular lucrurile, că nu toată lumea are 2000. Dar poate, mă chinui de o consolă, dacă aia merge, mai am bani de încă o consolă și tot așa. Acum, ce nu mi-e foarte clar e și ce include tot pachetul ăsta. Pentru că văd...
Practic dau codul sursă la partea
Cred că doar plugin-ul, da.
de a dezvolta pe astea. Practic ei au făcut munca și îți livrează ție chestia aia și în timp ce îți oferă și suport și alte chestii și detaliază ei pe website ce fac cu sursa. Dacă vrei să cumperi licența și ești o companie foarte mare, dacă vrei update-uri, se ocupă de bug-uri dacă ai bug-uri. Deci e fix ce fac cei de la Unity. Doar că mi se pare că cei de la nu, e cam fix aceeași chestie, aproximativ. Bun. Hai să zicem mai departe. Cred că este penultimul subiect sau e ultimul? Stai că deja le-am pierdut rândul. Ok. Scurt și la obiect. Acum câteva săptămâni a apărut legea în California că trebuie să plătești o licență. A băgat Steam opțiunea în care, de fapt, îți dă o licență la joc, nu mai cumperi niciun joc. Au modificat la fel și cei de la GOG că îți oferă licența către un installer offline pe care îl poți accesa oricând. Deci, dacă creați vreodată că jocurile le cumpărați și le păstrați pe viață, nu e adevărat.
Nu citește nimeni în dreapta acolo. Oricum nu se schimbă nimic. Lucrurile așa
nu se schimbă nimica. Dar dacă mergeți în feretari, găsiți CD-uri. CD-urile sale voastre, le puteți păstra cât vreți. Nu mai vi le ia nimeni. Lăsăm acum o parte, exact, și eu sunt de acord că nu se schimbă nimica. Treaba asta cu lifetime, recunosc că nu.
Doar semantică.
Exact. Ce e bine, măcar e că lumea o să fie mai conștientă de treaba asta, pentru că acum e obligat să zică de când a apărut legea din California. Dar treaba asta se întâmplă de ani de zile. Diferența e că s-a trezit, dacă mi-aduc eu bine aminte, toată nebunia asta a pornit de la cineva care a dat în judecată pe cineva pe acest motiv și cumva instanța a decis că de fapt tu nu ai jocul, nu e al tău, ai doar o licență și ca să evite astfel de situații trebuie, cum a apărut obligativitatea asta de a pune anunțul. Da.
La final de zi, asta e cumva o portiță tot pentru publisher, în sensul că dacă până acum puteai să zici, am cumpărat ceva, vreau să-mi funcționeze, acum nu mai poți să zici, pentru că, uite, scrie foarte clar că e doar o licență la ce e acolo și atât, nu e un purchase propriu-zis.
Da.
Bun, trecem mai departe, mergem în știri mai triste. Bloomberg a raportat că cei de la Bandai Namco au trimis peste 200 de developeri în expulsion rooms sau Oida și Beia. Practic e o chestie din cultura japoneză în care trimit angajații niște camere și practic nu-i mai lasă să dezvolte sau să facă nimica și așteaptă să-și dea ei demisia voluntar. Sunt curios ce părere aveți despre aceste camere întunecate.
Inepție, dacă mă întreb pe mine. Mai era în fine, nu vreau să fac această glumă că e utente, habar n-am în lumea asta politically corect cu ce tente poate fi interpretată, dar au mai existat niște camere la un moment dat pe undeva unde era lumea băgată. Mi se pare o prostie. Păi mi-i dă-l mă afară dacă nu mai merge treaba.
După aia trebuie să-i plătească salarii compensatorii.
Ok, închide departamentul și atunci nu mai plătești nimica. Și oricum faptul că sunt în camera aia până se plictisește mai repede decât i-ai dat-o compensatorii. Bine,
asta mă întrebam și eu, adică probabil că au niște studii. În general le ia 3 luni să se plictisească, noi trebuie să le dăm 6 salarii compensatorii sau cum e?
Da, poate au niște salarii de genul, îți dăm un an și ei zic, 6 luni că majoritatea renunță. Mergi, ok, bagă acolo.
Recunosc că mi-aș dori să văd o poză din acel expulsion, nu vreau să cum arată. Dacă e o cameră din aia albă, goală.
Așa că deja e octombrie, să stau de ceva timp.
E o cameră din aia în care, știi, e întuneric și din când în când aprinde o lumină, știi cum la tine mă fac.
Și am făcut un foc de tabără și e survival, acolo nu mai am voie să iasă nimica.
Îmi pare rău de săraci oameni, mi se pare și o tactică atât de stupidă să trimiți oamenii la plictiseală ca să-și dea demisia. Mă așteptam tocmai, am o părere mai bună despre japonezi, dar îmi pare.
Și văzător că From Software, care Bandai Namco de obicei publica jocurile de la From Software, ei au chiar mărit salariile la angajați și cu un procentaj destul de bine
Ca să-i dea afară sau?
Nu, dar chiar încă se practică chestia asta, dar sunt sigur că practica asta nasoală încă există, doar că durează până se afle, că totuși asta se întâmplă din aprilie, s-a aflat abia în octombrie. Poate se întâmplă mai multe, dar care se află mult mai greu și noi le știm doar de
abia acum au început oamenii, știi, să renunțe, deci au dat drumul în aprilie și abia în octombrie și-au dat demisia și-au dat la presă, știi? Cu rezistența e așa.
Am uitat, domne, că am uitat în cameră, că e liniște acolo. N-am mai zis nimeni nimic, am uitat de ei. Băi, cum e cap, da, doare capul.
Bun, haideți să trecem la ultima știre, the last one. Și care și asta o oarecum tot pe Caterica, în care mai... Asta e știrea preferată.
E business, aici e marketing, mi se pare o decizie business, super smart, gândită, cum mai jegmănim oamenii de bani. Hai să nu fiu răutăcios, că nu-i jegmănește nimeni, că poate jocul chiar e bun, dar mi se pare stupid. E mega stupid și treaba asta.
Pot să vă zic doar că am jucat Black Ops, nu știu dacă era 5 sau 6 sau că l-am jucat recent acolo unde l-au băgat, 3, pardon. Era Black Ops 3, o mizerie de joc, o mizerie de launcher, nu mai plătesc Game Pass pentru Black Ops niciodată, pentru că se mișcă prost, e gândit prost, dacă v-ați jucat Ultimele coduri, o să vedeți că e campanie liniară, vă bagă într-o chestie de open world în care trebuie să te bagi să faci niște obiective ca la Call of Duty Warzone sau la Battle Royale și pe aia îți dă campanie. Ca să te joci tu 6 ore, când de fapt campania e de fapt de 2 ore sau o oră jumate și restul e bullshit-areală ca să te întinzi. Da. Nu mai știu cum să facă bani.
N-aș pune toate codurile la un loc. De obicei se fac și prin rotație de diferite studiouri, așa că te poți trezi că 3 a fost nașpa, 4 a fost super bun, 5 ani e nașpa și tot așa. Lăsând la parte Call of Duty, mi se pare super de cacao că a făcut Microsoft. Mi-au cam aminte de cel mai hate sau downvoted postare pe Reddit. Dacă nu mă înșel, nu cred că a fost detronată cea de la Electronic Arts cu Star Wars, care pur și simplu a pornit fix de la o chestie de genul acesta. Oamenii s-au revoltat că creatorii jocului monetizau o chestie pe care jucătorii și-o doreau, și anume să joace cu Darth Vader. Iar aici faptul că încerci să monetizezi și mai mult pe un titlu care, codul e în continuare un nume imens la nivel global, mi se pare super urât să faci treaba asta. Adică e atât de vizibil că o faci pentru bani, încât n-ai cum să o dai înapoi. Nu am citit articolul, nu știu dacă au dat vreo explicație că s-a întâmplat ceva în cosmos și a fost nevoie, dar eu așa o văd pe față că vrem mai mulți bani și v-am tăiat macaroana.
Doar atât vreau să zic după aia, cred că ar fi bine să începem cu invitatul, nu de alta, dar să nu fugă între timp. Eu personal cred că e o lovitură de imagine care și-au dat-o singuri. Că în momentul în care tu ai cod care se presupune că e un joc care îl joci luni, ani de zile, exact, că e multiplayer, e așa, și tu îți este frică să lași trial-ul ăla de o lună la $1, cam ce spune despre jocul tău și despre calitatea lui?
Da.
E o lovitură de imagine care și-au dat-o singuri, gratis.
Da.
Și Microsoft face chestia asta de vreme bună, deci nu prevedem bine pe viitor. Dar acestea fiind spuse, astea sunt știrile, nu mai știu dacă găsesc așa, gata. Haideți să trecem pe engleză și să ne vedem la invitat, fără mine, bineînțeles.
Robert, dacă vrei să rămâi alături de noi, nu este nicio problemă. Astăzi o să discutăm cu Pavel Budai, primul nostru invitat din afara țării, despre the business of video games in 2024. Așadar, rămâneți alături de noi. Avem un moment publicitar deosebit astăzi, un băiat inteligent care și-a dat acordul să ne vorbească la pauză și după aceea ne auzim cu alți băieți inteligenți să continuăm podcastul de astăzi. Ne vedem într-un minut și jumătate. Cum se desfășoară GameLab? GameLab are 3 etape principale numite gate-uri, fiecare cu o durată și obiective diferite. Programul începe cu minim 16 sau maxim 30 de participanți, împărțiți în echipe de câte 2. În prima zi formăm echipele și acestea au 10 zile să dezvolte, să prezinte o idee de joc în fața unui juriu format din specialiști din industrie în cadrul primei etape eliminatorii numită Gate 1. După prezentări, juriul elimină jumătate dintre proiecte, iar echipele rămase avansează la Gate 2. Stai liniștit, nimeni nu este trimis acasă. Echipele eliminate sunt redistribuite în cele rămase, astfel crescând de la 2 membri inițial la 4 sau 5 membri. Pentru etapa Gate 2, echipele au 5 săptămâni la dispoziție să dezvolte documentul de design, GDD-ul și prototipul jucabil al ideii prezentate la Gate 1. Odată ajungi la etapa eliminatorii Gate 2, echipele își prezintă proiectele în fața juriului, iar acesta elimină din nou jumătate dintre acestea, lăsând între 2-4 echipe pentru etapa finală Gate 3. Astfel, echipele cresc la 6-8 membri după redistribuirea celor eliminate și au la dispoziție 8 săptămâni să finalizeze demo-ul jocului și alte materiale necesare precum pagina de Discord, website-ul, conturile de social media, business planul și așa mai departe. Ajunși în ultima etapă, Gate 3, vom putea downloada de pe Steam sau Google Play proiectele rămase în finală, iar juriul selectează proiectul câștigător. Îți reamintesc că pe parcursul programului participanții beneficiază de ateliere și webinarii adaptate nevoilor echipelor lor, dar și de mentorat din partea profesioniștilor din industrie. Welcome everybody to the first special guest, international guest that we have on our GameDev Livecast podcast. Pavel Budai, thank you very much, Pavel, for being with us, especially since we got a bit of emotions because we got screwed by the time difference between the countries.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. I have to apologize up front because I thought that we are in the same time zone, but then I realized I'm not by the amount of messages that you have sent me that I probably screwed something over. And this is usually the thing. That 1 hour difference is even worse than 8 hour difference. For example, when you are traveling to San Francisco or when you're traveling to Japan, it's always that 1 hour difference that kind of breaks your whole schedule and is the most complicated. But anyway, we made it, and sorry for the trouble.
No problem.
Glad you're here now.
Yeah, exactly. We are glad you're here. We have an interesting talk meeting ahead of us because we want to talk more about the games industry in general in 2024. And Pavel, it's a person who does a lot of traveling as part of his job. But you, Pavel, globetrotted all over the world, especially in the last years, maybe not so more recently. But before we jump into today's discussion, we would like for everybody to get to know a bit more, and please share some information about yourself.
I was hoping that the host will do it for me because I do not like to talk about myself. So you are putting me a little bit under pressure. But anyway, hello everyone once again. My name is Pavel. I have been part of the games industry for more than 2 decades, and I wore many hats during that time. I started as a journalist that was reviewing games that were not being covered by one of my favorite media in Slovakia. And that was my actually foot in the door. And since then, I was helping developers with PR and marketing. I helped them to get together during the meetups. That led actually to co-found Slovak Game Developers Association with some of the veterans that still exists and that still produce very good content, including a conference that is happening in November. So if you are if you want to wander around and travel to Slovakia, there is one conference happening at the beginning of November called Game Days. And it was just a short kind of a step to a larger stage and organizing international events in Croatia, in Canada, in Czech Republic, and that led obviously to the current job that I have, which is business development manager for Pixel Games, which is a studio in Poland, and we are part of a larger group which is called Sumo Digital. So I since the beginning, I was traveling a lot, and around the travels and around the events that I attended, I managed to meet a lot of people, and I'm still using that connections today, which is basically the backbone of any business, and especially it's very good kind of ammunition to have in your arsenal if you are business developer.
Oh sure. And I wanted to propose to you officially, if you ever need to make a backup to your phone, especially your contacts in your phone, my phone is available for you, so you can always
absolutely
send all the contacts. I will take good care of everybody over there. Pavel, can you remember roughly which was your the most crazy year and how many events you attended?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 2018, 2019. We were not counting it down, but we were kind of looking at how many also local events were happening around here. I mean, I live in Croatia, which I forgot to mention, and there has been a lot of new initiatives popping up before everything was shut down in 2020. But I think it was 2019 as we were organizing Reboot Develop in Banff in a national park in Canada. And we had to actually travel there multiple times to do the location scouting, meet with the venue owners, and then obviously go there with the team to organize everything. So I think 2019 was the busiest when it comes to number of long haul flights.
And in terms of events, because I remember I once saw a calendar you had. And it was a huge number of events you attended in that year, but I don't remember exactly what year.
I really don't know, maybe 20, 25, if you count also the local ones. It was more or less every other week I was on the road.
Since I don't have access to what Andrei has access to in terms of your calendar, apparently his...
Or my contacts.
His contacts,
Andrei, please don't steal my contacts.
So just tell us about how many events do you tend to attend in a year, like a median?
Yeah, so I do have, and this is a very kind of a healthy advice as well, because when you are traveling, you can't do work. Even maybe the employer might kind of expect that you will do some work while you're traveling, I don't know, and answering to the important messages. But you do not have that headspace that when you can sit down and kind of flex your creative muscles. I don't know, creating a proposal or fleshing out a really kind of elaborate email that is asking very difficult questions that you need to have kind of your time on your own. And during my years, I kind of came down to a very simple solution to limit it to one event per month, if it's needed, right? And when you need to actually travel for work, I would focus on two biggest events or two most important ones to your goals. It doesn't have to be GDC or Gamescom, which are actually the landmark events that are the loudest. One happening at the beginning of the year in March, and the other, which is the biggest games industry event in the world in Germany during August. They don't have to be necessarily these two. It can be something local where you can have access to a local talent, where you can pick their brain about, where you can actually learn a lot of things from your peers when there is no kind of a language barrier, and then you can actually think about going abroad or maybe to a neighboring country and visiting an event there, and kind of being exposed to foreigners, and obviously learn kind of building your network. But if you are traveling a lot, I would limit it to one event per month, and then you have enough time for your family. You have enough time to actually do a proper follow-ups. Then you have time also to prepare for the next one. I know. Yeah, go ahead.
Finish your idea, and I will ask after.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I know a couple of business developers that are actually always on the road, and they spend probably 1 month at home. So
yeah. It depends, and you made a good point, which is very important, and I want for us to break down a bit that point that you made, because most of our audience and especially one of the goals of this podcast is to help especially aspiring developers to better understand what game development means from all sides, business or development wise. And I would actually go a bit back. You mentioned you go to the events that you have an objective for. Which I think it's a critical question, because we in Romania, we don't have the habits of going to the events. Probably the most common thing is that we don't see the reason why to go to an event. So from experience, and I'm pretty sure that you come from Slovakia, you live in Croatia. It is still Eastern Europe or Central Europe. It's still a lot of things that we share in common in terms of difficulties and issues at community level. So from your experience, why should people go to a conference?
I would even go one kind of step further and mention that even here you have people kind of reluctantly attending events. Because, for example, it's not in their walking distance, or they will come up with not a stupid excuse, but they will come up with something that kind of is not making them to actually attend. I have to mention that I have been very lucky since the beginning of my career, even though I was not paid at the beginning, but it was my choice. I was always lucky with the opportunities that were offered and put on my on my table. So I'll always be thankful for that. So in my case, making new connections and knowing the ecosystem that is around in different countries was very, very important, because for one simple reason, the contacts or the people that you meet now, they're going to be elsewhere in 10 years. If they stay in the games industry, they will probably develop their own skills. If they are artists, they might become art director. If they're starting as an aspiring engineer, there might be technical director, or there may be CTOs in 5, maybe 10 years if they're very, very good. There might be principal, they might be leading teams, and they might be hiring, right? It is very good to have these connections, because nowadays you can actually work remotely. You do not have to relocate in many cases. Some companies are still kind of thinking about the hybrid model, but there is a lot of them that doesn't actually require you to move. So that's one thing. The other one is broadening your horizons. People from different countries think differently. Even we are coming from the same kind of a part of the Europe, part of the same region. We think differently, right? We are living in different time zones, for example. That's one of the difference. But we do have different cultural backgrounds, right? We do share different history. We are looking at even the same things very differently, and that can actually help you to come up with creative ways how to face challenges, how to solve problems, how to actually connect with other people, right? Because, for example, if you're meeting someone from Cluj or someone from Bucharest, you can actually use, I don't know, slang. You can use different words, and you can actually connect much more faster. And obviously, you are learning a lot through things doing together while, I don't know, enjoying food, or going for a drink, or going on a sightseeing. It's for me, it's essential, right? Because my job is to know as many people as possible and utilize the network and help others to be connected as well. The reason why people you can't actually force people to attend events. This is something that we learned the hard way as well. We had a similar issue in Slovakia when our smaller conference was part of a animation festival that was actually attracting very skilled people that could be employed by games industry and the studios that were lacking in art direction, or they were lacking in high quality animation. But we actually failed to convince the developers to go there, which was not in a capital city. It might be that we do not know, and actually at this point we really don't care, because it was their fault. We had a very good time. We invited international guests. They had an amazing time as well. So I really do not have any kind of a 10-step guide, like how to follow and what you need to do. If you are actually studying, or you are kind of interested in games industry, and you're kind of thinking about signing up for a program, or kind of looking to self-educate yourself via multiple videos that you can find on YouTube, and I'm sure that you are providing as well a lot of very insightful content. I would go there just out of curiosity, and maybe compare notes. You might actually start facing challenges that you won't be able to solve through videos, or through, I don't know, GitHub, or through forums. You will get to a point where you'll be lost, and you might actually lose the will to continue, and the events can actually bring it back, because events in many ways are inspiring. You have a lot of different topics are being discussed through panels and sessions, and also you are exposed to dozens and maybe even hundreds of other attendees who might be working on either a similar solution, or they actually already had it, and they can tell you, like, yeah, you need to do this and this, and you will be out of your rut. So there is there are multiple ways how you can actually look at it. I would obviously encourage everybody to join at least once to see how it is. But events, as you know, can be a little bit overwhelming as well. They might be kind of scary, especially for those who are introverted. And it's a good way to have someone on your side who can guide you and maybe do some. Let's use that person as an icebreaker to introduce you to someone who you can talk to. Other way how to look at events is maybe review your portfolio. If you're an artist, there are a lot of artists and established developers who are already working on big titles. They might actually help you improve your portfolio. So and job hunting is another way. When you are finishing university, or when you are finishing your high school and you are very skilled and you are looking what is out there, it's also a good opportunity to start talking to people at events.
Based on your experience attending so many events, you mentioned an easy route, but let's go the hard way, because if you have somebody who can be an icebreaker, definitely makes things 100% easier. But let's go with the fact that you don't have somebody who can be an icebreaker. What would be, like, 2-3 tips? Because again, I'm going to somebody who's like really beginning. He has a bit of money. He wants to go to an event. What would be your advice towards that person, or those 1-2 days sitting there to make it as valuable for him? Because I'm pretty sure like you said, events are overwhelming. You are scared by seniority, and you don't want to make a fool of yourself, so you don't ask questions, you don't go to people and then say hi because you're maybe introverted. How can you break these barriers that basically hindered you? Should I strictly like take a shot of vodka and go to the people and say hi? Or should I? What can I do, or what should I make an agenda and like do the best to?
Yeah, I definitely.
Combination of Red Bull and vodka.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend do that. Do that. It is a perfect recipe for disaster, because you might be actually anxious. You might be anxious, and you might be actually falling to kind of solutions that are not providing any shortcuts. The thing with making friends, or I call it making friends professionally, because you are not going to invite first when you are going to meet with them. You're not going to invite them to a birthday party. It is the same as in real life, right? The difference between meeting developers outside in, I don't know, a restaurant or a cafe and at an event is the size, right? So let's say you already have your budget set and you might actually be looking at traveling to event and you are looking at the hotels and everything else. You should actually start planning what are you trying to actually achieve at the event, right? If you are looking for jobs, then take a look at the event. If it provides some kind of a job board, or if you have access to attending companies, maybe look at who from those companies are attending, and don't be afraid to actually
a meet and match would also.
Precisely, Cătălin. Precisely, yes. You might have meet to match access way ahead to the event. You might actually, if you are bold enough, you can actually go to LinkedIn and ask the companies or companies representatives, like, hey, I saw that you are attending this event. I have a question regarding, I don't know, engineering. I'm student and I'm looking for some answers. They might not answer you, but this is also a good way how you can actually train to icebreak. The other way is look at the venue or look at the location of where the event is happening, and look on Google Maps what's around it, right? If there are cool spots to see, if there is a cool restaurant or if there is a cool bistro, because people like to actually go and eat food.
Exactly.
They're looking for recommendations, and you might be the one who will be asked, like, hey, we are new here. Do you know any cool location where we can actually eat food? And you can say, like, yeah, there is one around the corner. Come with me. And immediately you actually made friends. The other thing, what is very important is that do not be afraid of seniority, because we are actually all people. We are not kind of put on a pedestal or anything like that. Even the industry legends are the same. We can talk about the weather as with your neighbor or anybody else. So I would say that these kind of things will kind of create a barrier between you and potentially some industrial legend. And if you are a very huge fan, just ask them for autograph or ask them very stupid question like, are you here for the first time? Me as well. Have you seen anything interesting, right? Because they
don't
are
ask
visiting
them for money.
No. Don't obviously not ask them for money or anything like that. And obviously there are kind of no stupid questions, but make sure that you are actually aligning with your goals, right? Don't make fool of yourselves. Obviously respect everybody and treat everyone as you would like to be treated at an event, which is something that sometimes we tend to forget at different times. But the most important ones are the goals, and try to actually write them down in a smart way, meaning that you can kind of measure them if you were successful. So if you're trying to build your network, then write it down. During these 2 days, I want to meet or I want to make 5 meaningful connections, and I want to have, I don't know, 10 very nice conversations. It's really achievable, it's measurable, and then at the end you can actually reevaluate if you were actually successful or not. Same goes for job hunting. If you are looking for a job, usually at events are HR representatives. You can actually measure that as well. Talk to 5 HR representatives, or actually go to 10 sessions and ask 10 questions when you are learning and kind of broadening your horizon. There are multiple ways how you can do that, and obviously it comes down to what type of event you are attending. Not all events are the same. Not all events have the components, and I would start with a local one, because you might actually know someone there. You might actually be a little bit more. You might actually have information about the local industry. You might actually know the games that the companies did, and you might actually start with that. Hey, I'm a huge fan of door kickers. How did you create it? I don't know, the sound in it. And bam, you have a question, and you can actually start start having a conversation like this.
Yeah. I 100% agree, and I think this advice is really helpful. It makes it easier for everybody. So as an icebreaker for you, write your goals, write a plan of action to make sure that you stick to your goals and actually manage to achieve what you plan for. Moving forward on this topic, Pavel,
I wanted to ask something that is quite related to what Pavel said until now.
Sure.
Because I totally agree with you that conferences can be truly inspiring. They can motivate you. They can put your work in context. But in terms of indie developers, like indie teams, we tend to have quite limited budget. And going to at least an international conference, it tends to be quite costly, and sometimes that cost can represent a big chunk from our budget. How do we convince more developers that cost is not wasted, that it's a good investment, and how can they make sure that they get a good return on investment on that cost? What are like the most important things, business-wise, that you can get out of a conference? Because sure, inspiration is great, but when you have a very limited budget, that's not going to pay the bills, right? Talks
Absolutely.
are also amazing, but you can find hundreds of them on YouTube. So,
That's true. And we are kind of living in a completely different times after COVID. Many of there are multiple ways how you can actually be at an event and you don't have to travel. There are a lot of showcases around. So if you already have something built, if you already have, for example, a Steam page, and you may have already a demo built, and you can actually go out, there are actually multiple ways how you can sign in for showcases. Usually there are free of charge for submission. Some of them are actually asking for a submission fee, which is not a huge amount. It is ranging from $50 to $250, which is still less when you would travel somewhere and have a hotel and buying a conference ticket. And on top, a lot of these events have Steam page attached to it, right? And in this age, community and wish lists are everything. So in this sense, you are actually building your wish list immediately. Whilst if you would be at an event, the wish list would be, and there is no Steam page where these games are being showcased. The wish list is not growing that fast, right? So I would actually look at what are other events out there that are offering for indies showcasing without participation on site, because there are some that have all these components mentioned, but they still will require you to be on site. So you have to actually travel to these. In this sense, I would actually pick just one, stick with it, because they are actually costly. And when you look at cost effectiveness in this sense, I would stick with the virtual ones. There is tons of them. Obviously, the big one is Steam Next Fest, which is getting more and more overcrowded. I think the one that is right now running has around 3,000 demos, which is ridiculous. I remember when it started, it was around 700 or 800. So it grew very, very quickly. And in this case, you can have the demo on a Steam Next Fest only once, so you can't repeat it. So you have to be really, really careful with planning and read all the small letters as well, because you can't repeat your attendance in this event. So I would go for this. I would actually sign up for awards as well. If you have a game that is well developed and you are kind of in the last part of the development, awards are also a great way how you can expose yourself and expose your game to larger audience. Usually awards are also tied to Steam events or a Steam page. So that's also another good good avenue how to bring more eyeballs or more players to your game. So traveling to events is not necessary. If you have, I don't know, a publisher attached to a game, then sure, there might be some PR bit or kind of marketing marketing beat around it. So you go and do interviews and you meet with the media. And if you have to actually choose one event, then I would actually look at what kind of audience is attending that event, right? It's a different audience at PAX than at a conference in Canada, right? It's a different audience at let's say game developer session, which is happening in Prague in December, and at Gamescom, right? Or at Dev Play in Bucharest. It's there are still the events that are focused on professionals, but they have completely different audience.
Well, I won't let you get away that easy. So unfortunately, I will push on this question because I want to see if I can squeeze a more clear answer from you. But
you want me to point fingers?
Yeah, I want to point fingers. Actually, I'm looking for in terms of advice for that's why I'm bringing more context to the question. If you're a small indie developer, you have money to go to only one event. Let's say it's an event in Europe, and you want to showcase your game because you want to attract wish lists, you want to attract publishers, you want to attract media. What
Gamescom.
event would you recommend?
Gamescom.
Okay.
Yes. Gamescom has not only the biggest.
Do you think Gamescom is also the best for attracting publishers and investors?
Yes. The Gamescom attracts, I think, the biggest number of business people in the world. Not even GDC can measure that. GDC is too far. It's way too expensive. I mean, Cologne during Gamescom can get expensive as well, especially with the accommodation, not traveling there. But you have different options how you can cut down the cost and not live in the city, but live in let's say,
Netherlands.
In Bonn, and you can actually use a train. You don't have to actually live in Netherlands and then use car, but you can do that as well.
Actually, last year or this year, I don't remember exactly. I had friends who actually stayed at the border in Netherlands and traveled by car to
it is very tricky, but there are workarounds how you can save costs on accommodation. Accommodation is the biggest cost related to Gamescom. You have probably all the publishers there, all the scouts are there, not just from Europe, from US, from Asia. Plus, you have tons of initiatives that are specifically tied to indies. Starting with DevCom, they do a lot of networking parts. They do a lot of showcases as well. Obviously, the big one is Indie Game Arena that is being in Hall 10 at Gamescom, which is huge. I think they had 170 games this year. There are another initiative that was just across the walkway, which was another booth with 30 or 40 games. There is a lot of actually options how you can expose your game, and also it's very important that if you are looking for wish lists, you want to be in consumer area, not in the business area. In business area, yes, it's kind of good to meet publishers, maybe investors, or actually have meaningful conversations with media and influencers. But when it comes to the wish list, it's kind of a necessity to be exposed to the thousands of people who are flocking into Gamescom, and they're trying to actually play as many games as possible. Gamescom, I would say is very important. There are other big events that are attracting a lot. There has been actually two events in UK. One was called RESD. The other one was called WASD, which was a spin-off of RESD. These two were focused only on indies, which was absolutely amazing because you could talk to Nintendo, you could talk to PlayStation, you could talk to Xbox. It was not crowded. It was only a couple of thousand people during the weekend. But when you were exhibiting there, it was absolutely beautiful. So these two events no longer exist. I hope that they will bring it back, at least the WASD. There is also the new Eurogamer Expo EGX, which is part of a Repop. They're organizing PAX, they're organizing Comic Cons. This is also a huge event attended by tens of thousands of people. It's not as big as Gamescom, and it's happening in UK, which might be, I don't know, how cost effective it is, but it will be cheaper to go to EGX than to Gamescom. But I really do not know how the show has changed during the years.
If we move more to the Eastern Europe region, Poland, Croatia, Serbia has some events. Nordic countries have events.
So we are still talking about wish lists, correct? Or investors and publishers?
Yeah. Let's try to pick one for each.
One for
if
each.
it's possible.
Andrei, are you trying to get him to say that Dev Play is the best event to attend?
No. No, I'm really trying to help, because I put myself in the shoes of somebody who's like 21, just finished university. I don't know so much about the industry. There are hundreds, thousands of people who don't know about Dev Play, though it's happening next door to them. They don't know what to choose, where to go, what's interesting for them. We said make goals, but actually making goals, it's complicated.
It is.
Because you don't know what it is important for you at 21. So
and also, Andrei, it's really really important to say that when you are just relying on one event, you are actually asking for a disappointment.
That's good.
Right, because
That's good. Interesting.
what if you are not meeting with the 3 publishers that you kind of came up with in your head, right? Because in the end, they might tell you and you might actually meet with them, and they will tell you, "Oh, we have a submission form on on our website. Just submit the game there," which could be the case.
Actually, Pavel, don't. I'm still pushing. Sorry for that.
No, don't worry. Don't worry.
This is a good question, and I want actually. So first, let's see if we can find an answer to what's interesting in Eastern Europe for looking for wish lists or looking for your publishers or investors, and then maybe you can explain or tell us from your experience how to cope with a disappointing event.
Okay, so let's start focusing on the wish list / publishers. There is Poznan Game Arena, I think, which is the largest here in our area when it comes to number of people attracting and being exposed to games. They do have pretty large indie zone where you can actually exhibit. They have various options for tables and booths. There is also a conference attached to it, which is kind of bringing professionals. They are kind of separated, so they are not in the same room. So I would kind of consider maybe Poznan Game Arena. I haven't been there for, I think, 4 years, so I do not know how it changed. But it is still pulling in a large amount of number of attendees. Then you have huge events that are attached to big cities, but there might be a language barrier. Milan Games Week, Paris Games Week, and Madrid Games Week. I know that Paris Games Week, there is a new initiative that is connecting directly publishers and investors with the indies and with the creators of games. It is an invite-only event. They are launching it alongside Paris Games Week. But in these cases, you have to be kind of prepared to pay for your table, pay for your booth to be there, right? And when it comes to meeting publishers and talking to them, it depends to whom you want to talk to, with whom you want to connect, because not at every event you will have PlayStation or you will have Nintendo representatives or you will have Devolver and Raw Fury and these well-established brands. So in this case, I might utilize your social network. Scouts are there. They're listed on Twitter. They always actually go for retweets and they are promoting other interesting ideas. They are browsing through Steam. So Steam page is, I think, a must. Maybe we will talk about it, like what's very important for publishers to see. But if you want to just meet with them and hang out with them, there are multiple events where you can just bump into them. Gamescom is one, obviously. You might not find them in the exhibition halls, but they are usually in a different hotels, in a different lobbies. But that's, I think, another kind of a topic on how to tackle business development and not to be overwhelmed or disappointed. Reboot in Croatia is pretty nice. I heard. I was organizing it.
I don't know.
I'm biased.
I've been to only 6 editions, so
yeah. Thank you. But as I mentioned, the Paris Games Week has a new initiative, which is actually tailored, focused on indies and connecting them with publishers. The smaller event it is, the more higher quality of conversations you will have with these representatives who are going to be there. Usually you have also initiatives from trade bodies. Different states have different countries have different associations and trade bodies, and usually they are organizing publishers trips either around the event that they are having for the public. They are bringing in 5 to 6 publishers, meeting with the local talent, usually through pitching session, and they are being exposed to the games that they are being created in the specific country. So that might be another way how to actually sneak in and piggyback on someone else's initiative if it's available for public to attend.
Nice. Cool. Lovely. I got an answer. Now let's go to the harder part.
Disappointment.
You use all your money to go to an event, you meet nobody or whatever reasons, that event is disappointing.
Yeah.
You usually have the habit of saying like everything is like this, I won't do it anymore. And
it happened a couple of times. I would be lying if I would say otherwise. But it comes down again to preparations, right? And not specifically to the goals that we have been talking about. Sometimes the luck is swung the other way. And maybe even the meetings that you kind of pre-agreed to, they didn't happen. They might be canceled. They might be, I don't know, no shows, right? In some cases, you can get ghosted. So you have a really nice conversation before, and then when you need to kind of commit to a meeting or commit to having a call, suddenly the person is nowhere to be found. You do not know, right, what's happening. It is not about that you are that it's you. That's usually kind of how our brain works.
Oh, this is an excuse. It's not you, it's me.
It's our fault, yeah. But you really do not know, right, what might happen.
It's true. It's true.
I really do not know like how to actually respond to that. I walk a lot, so when something like this happens, then I'm trying to evaluate why did it happen, what was wrong, if it was my fault, if it was the I don't know, the weather, if it was, I don't know, the traffic, if it was the quality of people that were attending the event, because you might have different experience next time when you go, and then suddenly something happens, you meet someone interesting, and that someone will lead you to amazing conversations, right? But you can't bet on serendipity, or how do you say that? You can't actually bet on it because it's unpredictable. It can happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen, and sometimes you have a very amazing meeting or conversation on the sidewalk while you are walking to a meeting. That happened to me multiple times. I managed to actually get a sponsor on board while we were walking to a different event. It was not prearranged. We just met each other, said hello, and then we just pitched to each other like what we are doing, and like, oh, okay, let's do it. So I wouldn't rely too much on it. It is, I think, part of our life to be disappointed. There is always a learning in it. So look at it from the bright side that you might actually have, I don't want to say like really bad experience at events, but they might be in some ways disappointing.
But that doesn't mean that every edition is the same.
No, of course, each edition is different. Each edition of the same event is bringing and attracting different people. It is attracting different the whole crowd, different guests, different speakers, different games, and you are meeting. You're actually going there in different time, and your headspace is different than the year before, right?
Yeah, if I can add something, it's like, making anything, like making games. If you expect that you're going to make a game and you're going to be successful from the first time, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. But I think it's exactly the same with conferences. If you just go to your first conference and you expect you're going to get like the biggest deal signed and you're going to meet all these industry legends and they're all going to follow you on Twitter and whatever, that's kind of weird. You need to get experience with these things too, so that you, like you said, that you know how to put yourself in a certain mindset, that you know how to talk to people, how to spot opportunities, and so on and so on. So you need to attend more to get that kind of experience.
Absolutely, but there is also the different side, or I would say like the dark side of attending events. Attending events can be a little bit addictive because you are meeting new friends and you have fun. You're going for nice mixers. You have maybe a party or two, and then you are actually before you say goodbye, like, where are you heading next? And you will actually head there as well because you made new friends and you are doing it as well. But then you actually need to think about that someone needs to do the work back home. Someone needs to actually make sure that you are on the right track with your project or with the company that you are trying to set up, or with your life, right? Because it is it can be addictive to just travel and have fun with your new friends.
That's why it's good for us, developers, to hire someone who's going to have all the fun for us while we pay them for having fun, right? I mean, that's why biz devs were invented, right?
Yes, that's another way of looking at it. But also you have those that are playing it smartly and they just do the work and then they kind of skip the fun and do something smaller on the side, like a dinner, or invite their friends to, I don't know, a board game, or paint minifigures, which I like to do, for example, in the evenings, which is a different kind of a way of networking and different way of getting to know the people. Otherwise, you would be exposed to a loud environment, for example.
Pavel, before we switch with our discussion to the second topic we wanted to cover, which is publishers, and to be more precise, money. I want to take a couple of questions that we received. I also want to let everybody know that if you want to send us questions, please do it, and don't be shy. Also, because more than 90% of our views come from offline viewing of the podcast. Also, you can write the questions in the comments. We'll talk with Pavel and ask him to answer those questions as well. And
you can reach out to LinkedIn, to my LinkedIn as well, if you're not shy. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any question. And you saw this recording, so shout out to everyone who was watching it from recording.
So one question we received from Radu, who's asking that lately more games have appeared which explore culture closer to the East. I feel like our culture is insufficiently explored. I believe he's mentioning Romanian culture or Eastern European culture. Could this be an advantage for us Eastern Europeans? Does Pavel agree? What do you think, Pavel?
I agree. I totally agree. There are a couple of people out there who are studying this, or they're trying to actually bring more, or actually expose the creators to be more inclusive, specifically to cultures that might be actually dying out. And one of the example, and this is a self-promotion plug. Our group has.
Let's do it. We need money.
We have a studio in our group called the Chinese Room, the Dear Esther developers, and they recently, a couple of months ago, they released Still Wakes the Deep, which is set on an oil rig during, I think, 70s or 80s. Please don't kill me if I'm wrong. And it is set on a Scottish Ulrich, and they did original voiceover as an alternative in Gaelic. And it is a language that is almost extinct. Only a couple of hundred people speak with this.
Which probably don't play video games, but
probably, but they are actually coming from these from these cultural backgrounds, right? Their grandparents might have spoken, and they might actually speak it as well. So you have these kind of instances where things like this can make or break the experience and add kind of a layer of authenticity to this. I haven't finished the game yet, but I'm actually playing it with the Gaelic voiceover. It is completely different. So you have to turn on the subtitles because obviously you do not understand that. Similarly to, this is an obvious example, Witcher, right? But even the first one and the second one, you could play in a Polish voiceover, original voiceover, and it did, and it kind of it sounds different. It sounds like the books. It sounds very Eastern European, right? So there are a lot of ways how you can do it. Obviously, you want to expose your game to as many people as possible, so you have to think about that as well. So you can't actually create a game about I don't know, a weird corner in the city, and because only people who are actually know about it or who are actually living close to it might actually understand it. So in that case, it needs to be accessible. Disco Elysium is another great example. The art direction is Eastern European, right? Dishonored as well, which was.
I actually remember while you're speaking, I remember that I was in some meetings when I was working at Ubisoft for the Ghost Recon franchise, and there were some like really dedicated meetings on where does a game take place.
Yeah,
and I remember that the heated debate was in terms of like people don't know about this location. I remember, for example, we were discussing about Bolivia, and it's not like Middle East. No, everybody like you have the games like usually between Russia, China, US, and like people were from marketing was like no, let's not do Bolivia because like nobody know where Bolivia is and what it is, and there were like a couple of weeks for like choosing a location. Where does this action take place? And we need to make sure that we can find a location that people can relate to.
Even, I mean, you're absolutely correct, but there are big games like Stalker, the upcoming one, Heart of Chernobyl, which is set obviously in Ukraine, right? In the zone around Chernobyl. Exactly. Also Kingdom Come, which was developed in Czech Republic. When I was playing it, I knew that I am in the woods, that I was there as a kid, because the trees are actually growing in my part of the country as well. So you have these little things. As I mentioned, voiceover can bring this, or actually can expose some of the weird languages or weird kind of language that is being spoken in certain part of the world. It can be the signs on the store. I know that Deus Ex was, and even Call of Duty had a map in Prague. Forza Motorsport had a track in Prague, and it was one of my favorite tracks because like you could see the landmarks in Prague, and you felt actually you are at home. So these things, even the games are very accessible and being played by millions of players. They still have that feeling. They still have the heart and the soul in the country where they were developed.
I think that's very cool for us people in Eastern Europe, because when we see the locations that we're kind of familiar with, it's great for us. But
Yep.
I would look at it from the other side. Do you think like focusing some of our games on our local cultures, do you think that's appealing enough for Western audiences? Because at the end of the day, Western audiences are the ones that generate the most revenue, right?
Sure. It is definitely interesting. It comes how you want to tell the story. Each country in Europe is different. It might share some of the architecture. It might share some of the stores or storefronts because they are kind of globalized corporations. But the people who are living there have different stories. They went through different kind of cultural shifts. There was still the communism in a lot of the countries we were living behind the Iron Curtain. So these kind of stories, I think, are waiting to be kind of retold. We just need to find them.
Yeah.
And if the story is very gripping, it doesn't matter where it happens, because it comes down to the individuals. It comes down to how complicated the characters are, and you can actually relate to them, because if it's told right, then you're not looking at a hero movie, but you're looking at or actually experiencing a story of ordinary people. This War of Mine is a perfect example. Again, right? It is done by Polish 11-bit studio, and they have been inspired by horrible war in Yugoslavia, and specifically in Sarajevo, which was cut from the rest of the world.
Yeah. So basically, the way I look at it is use unique locations, unique environments, unique cultures, but then tell the story with familiar themes so that everyone can relate to them. I think that's the best approach. Like familiar themes in unique settings.
Yep. Yeah.
Let's switch to the publisher part of the discussion, because we as developers need their support to transform our games into successful story. And we received a question about this, but I don't want us to answer right now, because I would like to take some steps until we get to that game. But basically, I wanted you to know that we are leading to a precise. We want the exact number with dots and digits and everything. How many wish list we need to show? But before we go there, let's start with the beginning. So once again, I am new. I just started industry. I created my first game. I have my first demo, or I don't have my first demo. Actually, you tell us. But I want to get a publisher. So the first question is, what do I want, or what should I share or tell or show to a publisher to get him to reply to me?
And I will answer with a question. Why do you need a publisher?
I don't know.
Mostly,
Cătălin.
I think it's money. Like most of developers, I'd say it's money.
Okay.
Like the smartest answer would be for their experience to bring your game to a larger audience.
Yes.
But most people would say because we need the money.
That's my answer, but you can answer, Cătălin.
So let's say you have a team that is very passionate about their game. They want to start actually making that game. They might be studying at the university, but they have a lot of time at their disposal. I would recommend them to actually have a minimal viable product, which might be a vertical slice, which might be a demo, and invest as many hours as possible to make it as polished as possible experience. Test it on your friends, not just your kind of loved ones, because they will tell you, "Oh, it's great," but test it wide, cast the net really wide. And if you still have the kind of support from your parents that you can still return back and still have the roof over your head, you can have you have access to food, do not sign a publisher if you are kind of beginning. If you don't and you are on your own, then it's a different thing. Times are very rough currently. Publishers are asking almost they're asking things that are almost impossible to deliver. sometimes they're asking you for, oh, if you do not have 100,000 wish lists, we can't do anything for you, right? But at that point, if you have 100K, the question is, why do you need a publisher, right? So they are actually a lot of publishers out there. It depends on your genre. It depends on the budget you are looking for. It depends on your timeline. It depends on so many things. Plus, you do have companies that are doing white label publishing. They will provide you all the tools necessary to succeed when it comes to marketing, when it comes to PR. They might actually be able to secure you a porting studio or to have a QA and a localization. And they will actually not force you, but they will actually guide you to through the self-publishing process in the end, and you do not actually lose the 50% or 60% that you are actually giving away to publisher. The agreements currently are very rough. Publishers, you have to kind of think about, they are recouping first. Recouping meaning that the investment that they're investing in you after you start selling a game, they are actually taking the money first. So you are basically getting zero. And after they recoup, you're actually sharing the revenue with them still, which is in some ways very exploitative. And publishers are aware that there is a lot of content, there is a lot of games that need the support. So they might corner some of the indies. If you are actually in that kind of a position and you are talking to one or two publishers, reach out to more, or actually ask people in community if they can look at your agreement or if they can kind of compare. It's something that it is doable. Plus, you do have publishers who openly share their agreements, so you can actually go through what kind of criteria they have and what they need from you when you sign an agreement with you, and then you can actually compare. So there is a lot of resources, and there is also a lot of people who can help you navigate. It is very complicated. It's not easy to pick a partner, because this is not something that once you have a publisher, you are kind of golden. It is a relationship, and it will actually last until the game is pulled from the store. So you have to think about that. So it's more about a very long-term relationship, almost like a marriage. Obviously,
long-term commitment, indeed.
Yeah, there might be some. I don't want to say fights, but there might be some cave cats where you're not going to agree. But that's, I think, part of life. But you need to be very, very careful. I would start definitely with the question: why do you need a publisher? And if the answer is money you can get from other institutions. You do have sometimes public grants. Not sure how is the situation in Romania.
Zero.
But you do. Okay. Similar as in other Eastern European.
Pavel, I will be a bit more blunt.
Yes.
Some of the reasons, I'm pretty sure each studio has its own reason, but first of all, we see studios which are usually small looking for a publisher. Yep. Why? Because they don't have time to do marketing. They don't know and they don't want to do marketing. Second, we live in an era, actually 2024, if I remember from an older episode we did, it's the year with the most games on Steam. So the noise is probably the loudest as ever. So you need somebody to help you make you a bit more visible, and you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to write to influencers. You don't know how to approach them. There are so many unknowns, especially when you're 2021 first, maybe second game. So basically, you're looking for somebody to help you. That's a lot of people see in publisher. Somebody will help them get their game more successful. Of course, there is a situation of money, but we actually have in Romania quite a lot of developers who use a publisher not for money, but just as a marketing tool. Yeah, marketing services.
You do have a lot of services that are up for grabs, and they are doing just this.
I'm not talking about, I'm not even saying about translations, QA, and other things that you need them, and a lot of publishers, again, developers, small ones don't have testers,
No.
don't have...
The resources are tight, obviously. So publishers have the kind of a higher hand in this situation, where they're kind of have the partners that can help out with PR, marketing, and other services, and you can just focus on creating the game and finishing it, and actually follow up the milestones, because you are going to be paid by milestones from publisher. And so in this scenario it is very tricky to find a partner nowadays. As I mentioned, they are looking for almost impossible things to deliver. They are looking for games that could be thrown on the market pretty soon, or almost finished product, which is probably not the case of a lot of studios out there, because they might be kind of hitting a vertical slice, or they might have a prototype and nothing else. The pitching process is very, very hard. It takes months to actually get anything approved. So if you think that your runway, meaning that your budget is going to be depleted in, I don't know, by Christmas, you are too late to actually look for a publisher, because no one is going to sign that fast. There are, I mean, as I mentioned, there are tons of publishers who are focusing only on certain types of games, on certain within the certain budget, which is very low. Nowadays, it is around 500,000 to 1 million. Very rarely they're signing something which is more expensive, because right now everybody is playing very, very safely. And also what you have mentioned, that the perception of publishers that can cut through the noise is not true anymore. Even those that have very large audience and they can kind of cross promote games, they can't actually succeed. Not everybody actually can succeed, because the content, there's such a huge amount of content nowadays that even the established ones have trouble to do that. And it doesn't, and it's not just the indie publishers, but it's across the board. Some games obviously blew up on their own, which is amazing. If that happens to you, hats off, and just ride the wave. Do not sign anything. It's just enjoy it. But in many cases, it is basically like winning a lottery ticket. And even when you sign on a publisher, which you already won a lottery at that point, you still actually do not have a guarantee that your game is going to be successful and that it's going to gain a huge and start actually selling really well after the launch, even if your wish list is massive.
So going back to the question, what would be a good number?
Well, I mentioned it already. 100K is a pretty safe bet. Like, we'll kind of look at it.
So nobody in Romania. You're saying.
We all have at least 100K.
But joking aside, like this is something that I heard a couple of times, that they're asking these numbers, and then the question is like, what are you actually offering in this point when you already have that a huge audience built? Because once you have 100K, your game was pretty widely exposed. But it doesn't have to be obviously this kind of number, right? If you already have a Steam page and you have a kind of a good track record that you can actually show, I really can't tell. I have been pitching from a different position, so we are not talking about how many wish lists you have, but more or less what kind of team we have to build this game. So I didn't have that kind of a conversation, so I can't really tell. I would be lying at this point. But the 100K, I heard a couple of times during Gamescom, which is ridiculous.
There is another question. It's actually the same. It's our AI bot on the channel. He's asking, what are some game niches that are a big no from the start for a publisher? Are there any dead genre? Which I find a good question from him. So
Gambling is one of them. No one is touching that, even though there is a huge audience for that. But usually these type of games are not being shown at the events that we have been talking about, similarly to adult type of games, which has a large audience, obviously. It is really interesting question, because a lot of the publishers will tell you, if you have found a nice niche, then we are actually interested in that, right? Because that niche could actually lead to a large audience. So you really do not know.
Yeah.
Lately, there has been a lot of card games or deck builders. So nowadays, deck builders is a component of a combination of different genres. So it's not just deck building, but it's, I don't know, deck building survival / roguelite / Metroidvania, right? So the kind of the pure genres like Metroidvania, for example, you need to be as good or even better than Dead Cells, which is pretty tough to beat. Similarly to deck builders, right? So you have tons of them on mobile, you have tons of them on Steam as well. So you're actually competing with them, and if you can't be better than them, then you're not gonna succeed, and the publishers will actually not gonna touch that kind of a game. But if you combine these two genres together in very interesting way, yesterday I was playing a roguelite pachinko game, which was very interesting, and you were putting kind of the new unlocks to the board, and the ball was falling and generating score, which was very interesting, right? And if you remember, there was a small game, poker game called Balatro, and it blew out, and it's a card game, a traditional card game, and look at it. So I wouldn't be afraid of going into niches. You have tools that can help you out to kind of count the audience or measure how big of an audience or the bleed between, let's say, deck builder and RPG is. You have SteamDB, you have others, VG charts, where you can actually measure these kind of games based on tags. You can compare some of your favorite games. If you are preparing a pitch, you need to actually have some kind of comparable games and do market research on that. So I would look at it as well. But again, when you are doing this research and working with data, it kind of gives you a snapshot of what it is today. It's not going to show you how it's going to be evolve in next year, right? Next year there might be something else, right?
Sure. Jesus, I was looking at the questions, and I think I have like 50 more. But I would like to try and wrap up the discussion in about half an hour. So Kota, can you go through the questions that you have on publishing side, and Pavel, I will ask you to please let's see if we can quickly go through them, because I have a section that I want us to discuss about the industry in 2024 and going forward in 2025. So half an hour, it's a challenge.
Let's do it.
So I wanted to ask, first of all, how do you think that the Romanian game dev industry is viewed from outside? How does it compare maybe to other countries in Eastern Europe? Because this will tie to my next question regarding publishers.
It is very much very similar to Slovakia. In Slovakia, we do have pretty large development studio, but I think the majority companies are working on behalf of someone else, so they are outsourcing a lot. Very similar situation is in Portugal. These countries are being utilized as a cheap labor, if I would be very blunt. You do have a lot of opportunities, obviously, to learn while working on larger titles with a larger team in large organizations, learning the processes, learning the tools. But then again, if you do not have ecosystem built around that is tied to universities, that is tied to kind of a capital, either from investors that are local, coming from outside of the industry, but also inside of the industry. And obviously, if you do not have any state support, you are kind of left on your own, and you are relying on private educational program, private maybe schools or private kind of summer schools that are happening, and they're trying to kind of capture and motivate the youngsters to get into the industry, because there is still shortage of talent, and shortage of talent is going to grow for sure, right? You have a lot of opportunities outside. You do not have to move, so you can actually work from your home and be in a, let's say, cheaper country and have a nice salary. And then you don't have to move, and you have a very, very, very comfortable life in that.
So, considering that, do you think that if a publisher sees a pitch from a game studio in our country or country in Eastern Europe, do you think that has any influence? Like they consider riskier or anything?
No. It doesn't matter if the idea is solid, if the pitch is great. It doesn't matter from where you're coming from. They might actually consider it like, look, you are actually coming, or your studio is based in Romania or it's based in Portugal. We know what is the kind of average salary there. They might actually negotiate it around that when it comes to lowering, let's say, the overall dev budget. But you are always asking for more, right? So you always have that room to negotiate with a publisher or a partner. But when it comes to ideas, it doesn't matter. There are no kind of borders. There are no kind of thresholds that if you are coming from this country, we're not going to talk to you. No?
Could it help maybe the fact that salaries here are somewhat lower than in other countries? Could that help?
Absolutely. If you have access to a great talent, then you can actually prove that you can deliver. Then you can actually land pretty nice deals, and not just from publishers, but if you consider co-dev or outsourcing, you are actually have upper hand compared to Western Europe. And Western, in your case, I'm meaning Poland already, which is still considered Eastern Europe. So like the larger markets.
Even our almost neighbors are becoming Western Europe, and we're still Eastern.
Yeah, we are still. Western Europe is starting from the border, our border. What does a publisher considers a great pitch?
That's a very good question. If you see, I mean, you can observe, if you are meeting in person, you can observe the body language. You can observe if the person is looking at the screen or looking at you when you are explaining, or if you are in kind of a defensive position with your kind of hands crossed, or if they are leaning forward, that means that they are very interesting. If they are looking at the phone, you know that it's something's wrong, or if they are looking at the watch, it's something wrong, either with how the pitch is being presented or the pitch itself.
And in terms of slides, are there any slides that are like a must-have?
There are actually good kind of templates that are out there. I think Rami Ismail did one. Then I think Gwen Foster is she with Among Us or not anymore? Or I'm confusing with someone else. She did a template as well. What needs to be in a good kind of a pitch, but obviously you need to make it on your own. It can't be just like you will follow the template. It needs to stand out. Obviously, if you are looking for a publisher, it needs to be very gripping. It needs to be very nice to look at. It needs to have GIFs inside instead of videos. It needs to be polished. I think over polished, I would say.
And is there any kind of information that like it's really important for them to hear and you should not miss to have it in terms of like maybe, I don't know, market research that you did on your own, or development cost, or you know?
We have been talking about the relationship, right? So in this case, they need to know what kind of team is going to be working on it, right? Obviously,
so
they are
info
meeting.
about the team is a must. Okay.
Info about the team or info about the key people that are going to be working on it, right? They are going to be meeting with you or maybe with your co-founder or maybe your right hand, but they do not know the rest, right? If it's a game that has a outstanding art, it needs to be art director presented there, right? Like, look, this is why we actually created this way. And if it's very art driven, then the pitch needs to be art driven as well. It needs to look pretty. So team info, obviously not to have it in way too many slides. One slide is more than enough. You need to have the USPs there describing why the game is unique and why they should actually invest in it, which is also very important because you are asking them for money. And the question is like why they should actually invest. So the team, the game, and obviously the dev budget needs to be somehow broken down into different stages. You need to be ready as well to kind of scale down a little bit the budget. If they tell you, okay, you're not going to get $500,000, you will get 300,000. How much you need to cut from the game, if it's even possible. This is also important. Obviously, you need to have something.
Would you recommend that you ask for a bit more money so that you have from it?
Absolutely. You just don't count it like the bare minimum. You need to have a nice kind of cushion.
Triple time.
To go there. Well. Yeah. It depends on your burn rate, but you always ask for more because you do have unexpected situations. You might need someone else for the team, and you can actually have that from the budget. There might be a slight delay within the production, which is always happening, so you need to account that as well. There might be, there might be sickness in the team. There might be, flooding of the building where you're sitting. These things can happen and can delay the production, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you need to be kind of prepared also for worst case scenarios.
In terms of numbers, do you know for forecasts to be something interesting, because it's a big challenge for a lot of, especially aspiring developers, to make forecasts because they don't know exactly how to make estimation on how successful their game will be, and because 99% of our games when they were pitched were like huge successes, and we had only 3. So somebody's doing something wrong.
We have been mentioning the tools, right? The Steam Spy, not sure if it's still actual, but VG Charts is pretty nice, where you can look at SteamDB as well. They are listing. You can list very similar titles and do market research on them, how much they sold.
But do you go for the big hitters, or do you go for like the median? Do you go for the lowest cases?
So again, right? If you are making the next Dead Cells killer, you need to be compared to Dead Cells, right? So okay, Dead Cells sold around this, so there is a large audience out there. Will every single one will buy your game? Probably not. So you need to kind of lower your expectations, and I would go with the not the bare minimum, but I would go with kind of a 3 tiers to be overly positive, then successful, and then a little bit kind of not disappointed, but successful, right? So have these 3 kind of number of copies sold. Based on the games that they are borrowing ideas or that you are being inspired by. Obviously, you're not going to go for the top sellers, but you will go with something which is in the middle of it. That will give you a ideal snapshot of how much you can actually sell, how much you can sell.
Does it work to pitch to a publisher a game that you don't want to do a demo? So you basically have no wish list numbers to look at?
They might actually look at it. If the idea is enticing and interesting, they might actually get back to you, but they will require a demo or a playable or a video or something, or at least a prototype. They call it prototype with a beauty corner, where you can still demonstrate the game idea with gray box environment, and then have one or two kind of, I don't know, let's say rooms where you are actually showing off the art direction, where you're showing off almost final assets, how it's going to look, but without the gameplay, where you can just look.
Yeah, like a gray box, indeed.
So you don't need a public demo, but you do need something playable.
Well, when you are talking to them, obviously that's going to be the first requirement. They might look at the PDF without any video or any demo, but that's not going to secure you or anything like that, right?
Lovely. Kata, do you have any questions on publishers? I mean, I believe we can sit all day talking about publishers, but at least for right now.
I'm good for now.
Oh, because I want us to quickly switch a bit the discussion to a more global approach to the industry. 2024 was a strange year from many perspectives, because on one side,
it still is.
It still is, but it's the year where we had like a huge amount of blockbusters games being released. We, for example, in Romania, it's the most prolific, if I can call it like this, year of the game industry for so many levels. It's the year where we have the most education programs that tackle game development. It's the year where we had the biggest numbers of game released, created by Romanian developers. It's the year when we had some of the most successful games, financially speaking, in our history. But in the same context, it's the year where we still see a huge amount of layoffs, a huge amount of studio closing, a huge amount of disappointing news about the industry. And what happened from your point of view? Where is 2024 sitting? And of course, we can follow it up with what are your 2025 expectations? And probably the biggest questions that we'll keep it towards the end is, will we ever have years like before the pandemic?
We could start with that, because 2024 is very, very depressing. And we have seen a lot of...
I don't think the answer for that question will be more happy. I mean, let's go. Do you think that we'll have years like before the pandemic, like 2018?
I don't think we will. I hope that we will, but I don't think we will, because we will use different tools to make games. There's going to be new platforms that you can publish, and new stores where you can publish your games. So the whole landscape is changing, right? Our habits of playing games are changing as well, and we're seeing it now. I mean, since 2022, that the AAA industry is basically doomed, and we're not gonna see the big games, the blockbusters coming out every single month, or you will be having like the Christmas around October, November, where multiple of these huge games will be released. The distribution model is changing. The way how we play the games and consume the games and access the games is changing, right? Even the most conservative players are utilizing maybe mobile to stream some of the games via xCloud. Me included, for example. I'm kind of keen to play games this way because it's convenience, right?
Yeah.
And again, you have players shifting from consoles to PC and vice versa. You have whole countries preferring one platform over other, which is Japan currently. There is a huge influx of PC and Steam gamers over there. So I hope that we will have more games, and I hope that we will have amazing experiences in the future. I really do not know how it's going to pan out. It's really hard to kind of predict when it's going to stop, because 2024 we still have 2 months to go, 2.5 months to go, and I believe there's going to be more layoffs. There are going to be more studio closures. Because in some cases it might have been just a very short term kind of a solution, and the market conditions are not improving. You still see kind of good things happening as well, which are kind of lost in the noise. You see new games being announced from newly formed teams, and they are actually very interesting ideas. You do see new studios being opened with a significant financial backing, even though the rest of the industry is struggling. So there is kind of, everyone is struggling currently, right? It's not just indies because they're fighting the influx of content out there. It is not just smaller companies. It is across the board, publishers, well-established brands. There is a lot of, it almost sounds like a purge, that a lot of the bad practices are being called out. A lot of the bad kind of management is being punished by layoffs, unfortunately, and with closures. And it is not a good place to be right now, even though it is one of the best industries out there that has the most engaged and the most lovely people out there. It is very tough. It is very rough, and there has been a lot of these kind of predictions, like, "Oh, you need to power through and survive till 2025." But if you do, what then, right? It's not going to magically change.
There is expectation that 2025 is going to be amazing.
The problem with what's happening and the expectation for 2025, the way I see it, is that gaming right now is become not gaming, but game development has become more accessible than ever. With everything that you have at your disposal to create games, and especially with the added emergence of the AI in the recent years. So when you go look forward, basically you will actually see even more games, but you still have the same user base. We are still 7 billion people on the planet, and since the pandemic, the consuming is decreased because people are out of the houses, and moreover, right now making video games is probably the most expensive as it has ever been. So you have the cost of making games is higher than ever. The amount of video games it's higher than ever, and the amount of people who are paying is not the highest ever. So you have this situation that don't make 2025 look any better. How can
you still do have increased audience on Steam, which is giving you a little bit of hope that the player base is still growing, while in other areas is a little bit shrinking. Console players or the console install base is not growing as expected.
But come on, PS Pro is only €700.
Yes.
Why do people complain? I don't get it.
It's 800 in Europe.
It's 800, yeah.
800.
You're optimist.
I was hoping for a good deal, but Black Friday is around the corner, guys. Indeed, like what you say, and I agree with you. Just to add a bit of good things on all the bad things I said. We are also, our generation, because we probably were among the first generation of video makers, started in the early 90s. Now our generation is at the peak of, they are, parents, the kids were born in a digital era. They grew up with console and with games. And so the market is probably, again, the biggest in terms of how many people consume video games. And, we'll probably still be playing video games at 50, 60 years, even more, that our parents or our grandparents didn't play games at that age. But again, for a business perspective, it doesn't seem like everything that's happening around outcomes the positives that we hope that they will become true. So with this in mind, again, why should we make games in 2025?
You are correct. There is still audience, right? We are still looking to play interesting games, and you need to think about that. Interactive media is the only media entertainment in the entertainment industry that is functioning almost like a teleport. That it actually can teleport you to new worlds, and you are engaged more than with watching a TV series or reading a book or watching a movie. Obviously, you are fighting for the attention, because the day still has 24 hours, and there are still good movies and amazing TV series out there that you want to watch. So you are fighting with them. But the power of interactive media is in the way how the story is being told, how you are actually being teleported to the world, how you are actually being the main character. This is still the unique selling point that none other can kind of compete with. Plus, we actually grew up with playing games, and we want to still have new experiences, right? That maybe feel a little bit nostalgic, but you still wanna explore new genres. You still want to play the next big thing. So I think that's something that we are forgetting about, the power of the interactivity in games.
Yeah, that's a beautiful answer. But at the end, so I'd like to say this first. From my point of view, doing games as a business currently is somewhat, I'll just use a bad word, it's somewhat dumb. If you want to do business and you think, I'm going to do games because I'm going to make a lot of money, that's kind of dumb. Either you have a lot of background and you know how to make this as a successful business. Probably it's not going to be you selling games, it's going to be you making games for other people, right? That's definitely more money making in that. So I love your answer, because at the end of the day, I think we should make games because we are creators, because we want to tell stories, because we want to make experience, we want to make people feel stuff, but not necessarily as a business. How do you answer to that? As a business strictly, is it a good time from your point of view? Is it still a good time to be making games?
It is. You have access to tools which are available for free. When you start earning revenue until a certain threshold, you can actually, and you will be, I think, not forced, but you are required to actually pay a licensing fee to Unreal, for example, right? The tools are available for free. You have immense resource where you can learn, where you can ask questions. Before that, we didn't have these kind of tools. And my dog
somebody's missing
say
you.
Hello. Yeah. So you do have immense opportunities compared to where we started, right? There was not a lot of books, there were not a lot of resources, there were not a lot of courses, there were not a lot of even the conferences or events where you could get educated. Plus, we were not connected, right? In many countries, even before, even after the internet, the communities were still separated. They didn't even know that in the next apartment building there are developers, right? That happened here in Croatia, for example. So we are more connected. We have more access to knowledge. We have more access to talent. We have more access to tools. So it is easier or it should be easier to make games. On the other side, from the business perspective, everyone can make games, right? So you are actually have immense competition. You have immense, not immense, but you have, like, your chances are shrinking to be picked by a publisher. Your chances are shrinking to be picked on Steam and put on a homepage, because the amount of games published by Steam or actually being released on Steam is 14,000 until now, and it's still growing, right? Which is crazy.
But I don't think it's actually even this kind of problem that more people are making games. I think the effect of this is that the quality, because it's one of the complaints we had about games we released in Romania. Yeah, we released the biggest amount of games this year, but the quality of the games was not competitive with what's on the market. And the biggest problem, if you put it in a financial way, is that, like, maybe 5 years ago, that game was good quality for that amount of time. Now games take so much more time.
Yep.
Because you still want to do it in 3-4 people, as a team, but you have so much more quality to invest in because the others are doing it, and you need to compete with them.
Absolutely. I mean, the downside of games industry is that we are driven by tech, right? So you need to quickly adapt, or actually have an idea that can kind of work even running on, I don't know, an older version of or previous version of Unreal, or previous version of whatever tool you're using. So in that sense, you need to be very creative. And also, coming back to the big kind of productions, the main reason why a lot of these games were or studios are failing, because the whole method or the kind of fundamentals of making games needs to change. They are too expensive to make, and there is not a lot of actually revenue that is being brought back from the market, right? So that while the market is changing, the way how we make games was not kind of changed for.
And with this in mind, Pavel, what do you think about current biggest models? Let's take Game Pass.
I am a Game Pass subscriber, right? I am a huge fan of it because it kind of exposes me.
Yeah, but from a gamer perspective, right?
Yes, this is absolutely brilliant, right? It's brilliant. You have one subscription, you have tons of games over there. You don't have to do anything, right? If you have the Ultimate, you are on PC, on console, it's perfect.
But as a developer,
from the business perspective and the developer, you are again facing a huge competition, because everybody wants to be on Game Pass, right? Game Pass doesn't guarantee you that your game is going to be successful. A lot of the games were published recently, and they are lovely. They're beautiful, but no one is actually playing them. So it's not a guarantee. Then you have the other kind of a challenge, where Xbox is becoming a gatekeeper. So they right now they are being very picky. They are actually
signing 10-20 games a month. That's ridiculously low compared to how many games are made.
Yes, because they grew the audience, and right now they are dictating, and they have terms. They have different terms. Developers are getting less incentives for signing up for Game Pass. So obviously that actually created kind of a gatekeeping mechanism, where they are basically acting as an Apple. It's very similar.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have only few slots to sign, which is unfortunate, but this is how business works, unfortunately. And similar for PlayStation Plus, it's the same thing.
Talking about PlayStation Plus, what do you think about the current cycle we are in, which is an emergence of the PC gamer base and the downfall of the console, which, like, if you were going on forums 10 years ago, everybody was singing the lullaby song for the PC because they were dying and the consoles were taking over the world. Do you think the cycle will repeat, or do you think that consoles have where they cannot win with the current tech and with the current emerging tech?
It is a convenience, right? It comes down to this. I am a huge proponent of having a dedicated device that can play games. I am fortunate enough to have both platforms, PlayStation 5 and Xbox, even though I'm not playing on them the same amount of time or every single day. But I like to have a device that plays just games, that doesn't force me to open emails, or you are one app from a trouble, right? Opening up, I don't know, your Teams or Slack or something like that.
And do you see them re-emerging as market drivers like they were 10 years ago?
If you look at what PlayStation is doing currently with the ports, and if you look at how the Xbox strategy changed, and suddenly there are no more exclusives, there are only timed exclusives, and you will see games exclusively developed by Xbox studios published on other platforms, right? It already started happening with some of the titles appearing on PlayStation 5. Not sure if it's going to be vice versa, probably not. But PlayStation is looking at PC as a viable market, and players are actually reacting to it accordingly. They're playing the big games that were supposed to be locked into a platform, and they're playing it on Steam. So I think this is moving forward. This is going to be the new normal for the big platforms, and then you have more choices to play the games. Either if it's going to be on PC and you will wait a couple of months, in case of PlayStation. With Xbox, you can actually play it immediately. You do not have to have an dedicated kind of box under the TV. And in the end, if we might see, I don't know, if there is no console after PlayStation 6 or the Xbox, whatever next one is going to be called, I wouldn't mind, because back then, at that time, we would have, I don't know, way too powerful TVs on their own. They will have computers in it that can actually stream or actually run the games even from your PC that you have. So you will always have a device that can play games in the end. If it's the streaming, I really do not know. Even the Parsec, currently we are using it at our studio. It works really nice. It works really, really good even for action games. But you can actually feel it, that it's streamed, that it's not native, that the delay is there, right? It might improve with the fastest networks. I really don't know. Once you can't notice and it's more convenient for you, then it doesn't matter where you're actually playing with whichever controller, right?
Speaking of trends and business in the industry, what do you think about this? This shift, for at least for the younger audience, to focus mostly on playing the same game for years and years on end, and like the emergence of this major, well, I'm not going to call them blockbusters, like these major magnets of the audience. Like, do you have probably millions of people that play only Fortnite, or tens of millions or hundreds of millions? I don't know how much they have now. And then they have Genshin Impact, and then they have, I don't know what, not Valorant or whatever. And like it or not, I think these big titles tend to suck up a lot of the audience from the market. Audience who is now, and especially younger audience who isn't willing to try new experiences, like try indie games or try, as you said, the big AAA titles that companies still try to produce. Do you think that will exacerbate in the future?
It might, for sure. I mean, I have been part of that community as well. I was a huge and avid fan of Destiny when it came out. That was the only game that I was playing for, I think, until Destiny 2. And I was playing it daily. There was still time to play other games, because daily you can just go for a few missions, you will grind something, and you just log off. But we have to look at it the audience, even from the perspective, because a lot of the people are using it as a social space. They're not doing anything else. They might be, I don't know, building something in Fortnite. They might not shoot each other, and they are building something together, and while they are talking, or while they are hanging out, right? Obviously, there are people who are playing it competitively, those that are playing it hardcore. But I do believe a lot of the player base are using it as a social space, and they might have actually found a perfect game that kind of calms them down if they are anxious or if they have a bad day, because they can escape really quickly into a very familiar world where they play 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes. They will log off and they will kind of calm down, and they can go on and continue with their day. There are multiple games, and in my case as well, I have a couple of those that I'm calling them like a comfort food, where you're kind of hungry and you don't want to cook, you just, I don't know, order pizza. It's very similar. You have that kind of a game where you don't want to think about what happened previously in the story, and you know that you have, I don't know, 30 minutes to play. You will play 2 matches in, I don't know, Overwatch or something, and you just log off, and you just don't want to continue your Cyberpunk story or Final Fantasy 16 story, like the grand big games, because they tend to be story heavy and the missions are pretty long, right? So Diablo 4 is perfect example. Right now is my getaway game. Just open up, run one dungeon, 15 minutes, I'm gone. I'm done and logging off.
There was actually a post, I don't remember where I saw it, with a guy who did a kind of research like this based on achievements in video games. And the conclusion was that the amount of games being bought by people but never played is getting higher, because again, people don't have the time to play it, or the amount of games is way too big.
That's true. And then you think about like why the games are being made bigger and larger, right? Why do we have such a huge open worlds when only a fraction of players or a fraction of owners of the game will actually finish it, right? So that's I think a different topic.
This is somewhat what worries me, because when we look at Steam data or general data, we're always told, well, the audience at least is still increasing. And my question is it though? Is it increasing? I mean, at least in the younger audience, I really don't think that the audience for gaming in general increases. I think that audience goes specifically to what I call TikTok studios. Those games are TikTok studios. They use them so they generate their TikTok videos and whatever other social platforms young people use these days.
There has been couple of record-breaking numbers coming from SteamDB that measures actually the active users, and it's actually growing. So it's not just creating accounts, but actually being active and playing something, which is still being increased, and the old records are being broken. So I think we are seeing the shift towards PC, and actually spending more time playing games on PC, right? It doesn't provide you any data what kind of games are being played. I mean, you can still list of them. You can actually look at how many players are being how many players are playing the top games, but we do not have similar data to mobiles, right? We do not know how much time is being spent on the top games, and obviously how much time people are spending in games in WeChat, for example, which is a new thing, and I think it will come down here very quickly as well. In TikTok fashion way, where you have bite-sized games that are immediate, no loading, nothing like that. minute or two while you're waiting for a bus or waiting for a recess, and just changing it very quickly in reels.
Maybe that's a
fire and
business
forget
direction we can follow.
There is already
tiny games.
There is already a platform that is actually doing that. Yeah. So
5-second games. Where do you see, because we talk so much about console and PC, where do you see the mobile games going in 2025?
That is a very tough question that I can't answer. I'm not well versed with the mobile industry. I know that they are facing very difficult times currently with the user acquisition and how expensive it is to actually get people play their games or play the games that they are advertising. The business model is staying the same. It is free to play. So not a lot of premium games, not a lot of games that you can pay or actually play with one-time purchase. Apple Arcade is still there, but it's very hard to get in, and Apple is not investing heavily in it. So it's really hard to tell. It's still growing because every single kid has a mobile phone now. So of course, it's the audience is going to play games on it. I don't believe that they're going to be averse to video games, and they're not going to be wanting to play whatever their schoolmates are playing, especially when you can actually play together. So it's going to grow, but the monetization model, I'm not a huge fan of it. It is pretty predatory. It is exploitative, and it's not good. Sometimes the games are not even entertainment. They are distilled kind of psychology into how to withdraw all the money from your wallet or from the pocket of parents in case of smaller children. So I really don't know, but it's growing.
And last at least from me, how do you see the emergence of new stores? Microsoft, PlayStation announced it. Do you think this will help the industry or divide it even more?
If they give the platform or the new stores to new companies and new stores, so the new games can kind of shine, then yes, there is a hope. If they're going to bring all the Candy Crush saga and all the Clash of Clans or Clash of whatever, then there is no alternative, right? It's going to be the same audience. They might actually flock to a new store, but there is a hope that with the new stores, they might actually create alternative, and hopefully new games and new developers will benefit from it.
Lovely. Kata, are there any questions? We still have time. We just started.
Just a couple, but feel free to answer them as shortly as you want. I know it's late. So one of the big trends lately was this, shift to online work, remote work. But then, at least the way I see it lately, there's been the reverse of that, with more and more companies going to hybrid or even full on-site. Do you think that's true? Do you think that online work will slowly dial down until it's not as prevalent as today?
It is. It depends on the company. It depends how the management, how aggressive the management is, I guess. Our studio, for example, was founded in October 2020. We do have offices. We are not forcing anyone to go into the office, even though if they have the desk over there and they have computers where they can actually work on. We are 100+ studio. We are actually fully remote. We are giving our employees an option. If you want to go, you have a place to actually sit. We are actually utilizing the hot desk method in our studio. So it depends on the companies. It depends on how the studio is structured. Since we are working with multiple teams, we are not working just as a single team. It's quite easier, and it's even, I think, more comfortable to work from home rather than from a studio. what I have seen, and I'm coming from kind of an older school where I like to be surrounded with people, that I would prefer to have at least 2 days in the office. I miss my coworkers, I miss my teammates. And the way, and not the way, but since we were commuting, you are actually kind of exposed to different external stimuli, different sounds, different people. So your brain works a little bit different when you're just waking up and going from your bedroom to your workstation, and you just work and then go to a kitchen, have a meal, and then just go back to work. And then maybe in the evening, you just watch a TV. So this is just me, how I see it. I don't think it will gonna go away. I don't think the studios will be again like fully on site. We have seen that it works. We have seen and we have proven that the games can be delivered completely remote. Of course, it needs to change a little bit the production. It needs to change a little bit in the processes, but it is doable. And I don't think it's going to go back. There might be still companies who will adopt hybrid mode, or they will be forcing people to have everybody on site, but they are risking that the people will just say goodbye and they will find a new job.
And lastly, in the past, there were kind of resets. So when Nintendo Switch was launched, it was kind of a reset, at least as a business, as a game development business, because it was a new platform. If you got there fast enough, you had tons of opportunities. Same was for PS4. Same was for Xbox One. Well, maybe not for Xbox One. But lately, everything is backwards compatible. Everything that launches new already has thousands or tens of thousands of games in there. Do you think we will ever have a chance for at least a little reset anymore? So, like a little opportunity where you can plug ourselves in and give ourselves a chance to fight?
I know what you mean. I think a lot of us are looking at the Switch 2 or whatever is going to be the successor, the Switch successor name. Even though it is claimed that it's going to be backwards compatible, and same with Xbox Series, it is backwards compatible even to the first generation of Xbox. I mean, not all of the games you can play, but the new systems will have new features that only the new games will kind of utilize. So in that sense, you want to have the best and the cutting edge when you are first adopter. So you will go actually for the versions that are supporting the new hardware. Same goes for the next PlayStation or the next Xbox. I think they might be, obviously they will be prettier. The games will be prettier. There might be a new controller that will have an enhanced rumble, or it will have, I don't know, different features with microphone or with the touchpad in case of PlayStation. So in that sense, you want to experience that. So I don't think we will have the full reset. There is a huge kind of a player base that is demanding that their library is going to be transferable. I have a lot of games that were bought digitally, but nowadays I'm switching to kind of have a disc version. But I would actually love to play my old games as well on the new platform. I'll just change the box, have a more powerful console that can handle the new games, while I can still return back to those that I played before.
So basically, we're doomed.
Yeah. But the problem is it's that you still have the same distribution channels. You have the same big players who are featured. It's basically, in terms of development, there is nothing changing from you. You still have to deal with the same business, while a completely new device, hopefully, it will happen. Maybe we'll have a fourth player coming on the market. Maybe something that happens with AR, VR will lead to emergent new devices that will, like you said, we are an industry reliant on technology. So probably when something new will appear that will disrupt current models and should be about time because iPhone is getting 20 years old. We will probably have again, like Cătălin wanted, an opportunity for developers to be present and then, get the big pile of the pie. Because right now, even if you do new generation, the pie is the same.
Yep, yeah, that's true.
Guys, we have 1 minute and 20 seconds until we reach the 3 hours mark. It's the longest episode we ever did by far. And I want to put an end on it so everybody can sleep, can wake up. For those who went to sleep, listening to us. Like usually, we want to thank everybody for listening and watching the podcast. Hopefully now you have 3 hours, so you have more time at work to watch us in the next day once the episode goes on YouTube. And as always, don't forget to leave comments, to share your thoughts, to tell us what else you like to hear us debate with our guests. If I'm missing anything, Cătălin, now is the time to
like, comment, share, subscribe. I just want to say
Yes.
thank you so much, Pavel. It was quite an amazing talk. Definitely, I think the best that we had so far with the guests here, and we're very grateful for all the very detailed answers that you gave us, and especially for like your insight from your point of view as someone from outside our industry who can give us that glimpse into how things are viewed from another place, not just inside here between us local developers. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you everybody for listening. So hopefully next time.
Yeah, we'll probably do a next one sometime. Maybe we'll discuss in 2025 about how the 2024 ended, how 2025 is shaping up. So we'll keep in touch. Usually, like Pavel said, you can befriend him on LinkedIn and get in touch directly if you want. If not, you can let your questions in the comments, and I will make sure that Pavel will see them, and when he has time, we'll try to answer for those questions. With this in mind, we'll hear it and see each other for the next episode, which will be around 30 October, 2 weeks from now, when we'll probably do a spooky Halloween episode. And keep following us on social media to see when we announce what will happen with the next episode. And in the meantime, like Cătălin said, like, comment, share, subscribe, and everything else that is necessary for us to reach 100,000 views per episode, so we can find publishers. Exactly. So we can find publishers for our talk show and podcast. Thank you, everybody. Have a good sleep. And thank you again, Pavel, for being so long with us.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Good one.
Good night.
Bye. Bye.